Wilson and Muslim debater Daniel Hukikuchu collide in Nashville, Tennessee this November 15th and 16th at DebateCon 6 on whether or not Christian or Islamic values are better for society. You don't want to miss it. Grab your tickets by clicking on this link right now so you don't miss out on this epic debate conference featuring that debate and many others. Hey everybody, today we're debating whether or not Islam is good for society, and we are starting right now with the pro-Islam side, in particular Perfect Dawah. Thanks for being with us. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, hello everyone, and thank you, James, for this opportunity. Is Islam good for humanity? To answer this question, we must first ask whether religion itself has been good for humanity. God created human beings with the same nature as other animals. We are selfish and capable of committing great harm for our own interest. Yet God also made us intelligent, able to communicate and understand moral guidance, because he wants us to follow his divine guidance. Before divine guidance, people lived by man-made laws such as stoning, crucifixion, and other barbaric practices. God created us as biological beings, but he wanted us to live as true human beings with compassion, justice, and morality. Living as moral beings is not our nature, it is learned. We are all born with animal nature, but we learn to rise above them. Sadly, some live and die enslaved to selfishness, while others live and die as true human beings. God sent prophets to guide us towards a loving, peaceful, and just world, and where all people are equal. He replaced man-made cruelty with divine principles such as don't kill, don't steal, love one another, and give charity. God's message was revealed gradually through different prophets. For example, 5,000 years ago, Prophet Zarathustra came with three core teachings: good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Moses brought 10 commandments. Jesus expanded these teachings with messages of love and forgiveness. Finally, Islam came as the complete and final message of God. Through different prophets, God sought to solve humanity's problems. For instance, in pre-Islamic Arabia, people used to bury their daughters alive, a practice Islam abolished. Unfortunately, similar forms of gender-based violence still exist in India today. In the past 20 years, 10 million girls have been killed before or after birth in India. Alcohol claims alcohol claims over 1 million lives each year. Yet among practicing Muslims, this number is zero. Did God try to solve our problems? Yes. Did he want to solve all of them? Yes. Has every problem been solved? Not yet, but many have. That is why Islam is considered the final message, because it contains the complete solution to the challenges humanity faces. The message of Islam is not complicated, but it has often been misunderstood. Today, more people are beginning to rediscover its true meaning, a message that can ultimately solve all human problems, as the Quran says in chapter 28, verse 5. And we wanted to confer favor upon those who were oppressed on earth and make them leaders and make them inheritors. Quran chapter 21, verse 105. And we have written in the scripture, my righteous servants shall inherit the earth. What is that message that could save humanity? It is equality. Equality is the solution to every problem humanity faces. The symbol of this equality is the Kaaba in Mecca, towards which Muslims turn in prayer every day, asking God to guide them to the straight path, a path where there is no rich and no poor, where everyone shares everything that God has created for us. Islam aims to guide humanity out of the jungle system, a system that drives people to commit evil deeds, either to gain wealth or to survive. Some harm others through production of weapons, drugs, alcohol, or exploitation in order to get richer, while others commit crimes simply to stay alive. It is true that many crimes have been committed in the name of Islam, just as they have been in the name of Christianity and other religions. But these acts are not caused by religion itself. They result from the same jungle system of greed and power. When people cannot exploit religion, they exploit nationalism, language, or anything else that can deceive and control others. The final message of God is too profound to be fully expressed in just a few moments. For those seeking deeper understanding, my book delves into the realities of the jungle system and reveals how Islam offers light and guidance aimed life's challenges. You can find it on Amazon under the title, Why Islam? A Journey from Doubt to Belief. Thank you, Rashid. Now is
Yes, thank you very much, brother, for those wonderful words about Islam. And I would like to thank, of course, Modern Day Debate for welcoming me to this debate, as well as our opponents for today, for having the time to have this discussion with us. So I'm going to be building on what Brother Muji talked about as the topic, is Islam good for society? In my contributions to this debate, I will not only be arguing for why Islam is good for society, but also as directed by the teachings of the Quran. But also I will be arguing that actually Islam is in fact the best solution for constructing a viable and productive society. The Quran emphasizes core values, and I'm going to be focusing mainly on the Quran because it is the central source of Islamic law, and it also is the most accurate description of what Islam is. So the Quran emphasizes core values, core moral values such as compassion, justice, honesty, and moral integrity, mutual respect, and also peaceful coexistence with other people. And these are principles that significantly contribute to a society that wants to live in harmony and wants to be progressive and advance in its way how it sees the world. For example, as for justice, for example, when it comes to the Quran clearly states that in chapter 4, verse 58, that Allah or God commands you to render trust to those whom they are due, and that when you judge between people, you judge with justice. This same sentiment is reiterated throughout the Quran in many other places, such as in Quran chapter 4, verse 135, chapter 5, verse 8, chapter 16, verse 90, chapter 57, verse 25, and so many other places. Its exhortations for compassion can be observed in its plethora of verses pertaining to charitable deeds towards the poor, the needy, the beggar, the oppressed, the vulnerable, captives, and also in its and all other people of all kinds of social classes, as well as between spouses in a marital setting. As for moral integrity and honesty, the Quran commands, like in chapter 2, verse 42, for do not mix the truth with falsehood, nor conceal the truth while you know. Similarly, in the same chapter, Allah exhorts, do you promote goodness for people or to people, but forget your own selves? Will you not use reason? So as we see in these verses, Allah is commanding to moral integrity and honesty in dealing with other people. And also, it speaks out against hypocrisy in the same way. And speaking of reason, the Quran in countless verses encourages its readers to base their decisions through utilizing their faculties of reason, understanding, and logic. Likewise, the Quran encourages scientific inquiry, as exemplified in its exhortation of its adherents to observe and study the creation of God, as can be seen in verse number in chapter 29, verse 30, in which God tells, say thou, travel ye throughout the land, and then observe how he began the creation. This is added to in the Quran's several descriptions of the natural world and the phenomenon therein, whether they pertain to geology or botany or biology or climate sciences and so many others. Pertaining to social interactions, the Quran commands its adherents to exercise fairness in all dealings and to speak well to people, to act excellently towards one's parents, the near relatives, the downtrodden, the less fortunate, and people of all walks of life. And this can be observed in such verses as chapter 4, verse 37, chapter 2, verse 83, chapter 25, verse 63, chapter 41, verse 34, and so many others. Lastly, in terms of etiquette, the Quran exhorts a decorum of modesty in both speech, dress code, and conduct, as observed in chapter 17, verse 58, chapter 24, verse 30 to 31, chapter 25, verse 63, respectively, and so many other verses. It fosters freedom of thought, belief, and religion, as seen in chapter 18, verse 29, chapter 2, verse 256, and chapter 109. The Quran also encourages peaceful resolutions to conflicts as the first resolve, as it states, as stated in chapter 25, verse 63, and also in chapter 41, verse 34, though it does not shy away from physical conflicts, granting its adherents the permission to resort to physical retaliatory measures when being aggressed against, but only in equal proportions. There are so many other subjects which may be covered, but unfortunately we do not have the time to go through all of them. To state it simply, Islam as defined or as presented by the Quran is without a shadow of a doubt not just good for mankind, but it is the best schema for constructing a viable and productive society as intended by God. And that is what I'm going to be covering during this debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that opening. And folks, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, I'm your host, Dr. James Coons. We are a fully neutral debate platform hosting debates on science, religion, and politics. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. And in case you didn't know, at the bottom right of your screen, DebateCon 6, our two-day debate conference, is happening in Nashville, Tennessee, November 15th and 16th. You don't want to miss it. Oh, hold on one sec on the share screen. You gotta give me a heads up if you're gonna share your screen. Folks, want to let you know this conference is going to be packed with religion debates. You don't want to miss it. Grab your tickets at the link in the description box. If you use code 25live while you check out, this code is only available until tomorrow night, namely Sunday, October 26th. You get 25% off your tickets. What are you waiting for? Grab your tickets now. Use promo code 25live for a massive discount, as you can see at the bottom right of your screen. 25live, only valid for, well, it's no longer 72 hours because we started several days ago. I forgot to update the card. Normally, the standard ticket, for example, $240, but as you can see at the bottom right, it'd be $180 with the code. Grab your tickets now. With that, we're going to jump over to you could say, Against Islam's Effects on Society team. Thank you very much, Mus and Nosce. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. I'm ready for you, including the screen share.
Yeah, I'm going to share the screen.
Ready for you. One thing. I'll get your picture up there. Nosce, thank you very much. We are centered for your slides right now.
He's going to be presenting for me. I'm going to go first.
You got it.
Awesome. Okay. You guys are ready?
Ready.
Okay. Well, big thanks to you, James, for hosting, and thanks to Muji and Rashid for accepting, and a special thanks to Nosce for joining me for this debate. I want to start off by saying that we are only doing this for the glory of God, not for our own, and not for the sake of argument. So we hope for the salvation of Muji and Rashid, and with all of our hearts, we love them as Christians. So, is Islam good for society? Okay, we are going to approach this topic in many ways, but we're going to do it in a way that Islamic apologists fear most. We're going to expose Islam with its own evidence, okay? And 3 points we will demonstrate that Islam is negative. Point 1 being to demonstrate that Islam's historical and modern impact on society has been predominantly negative. Point 2, to show that these outcomes are not accidental, but are directly influenced by Islamic scripture and teachings. Point 3, Nosce will show how Islam is not a religion of peace, how child marriage is harmful, and expose the wickedness within the Islamic world by means of jihad. All of these according to Sharia. We are not here to redefine Islam. We're here to hold it accountable to its own sources. Starting with point 1, what ways has Islam had a negative impact historically? I'll be showing a few examples. Some I can't because of the amount of time we have. So let's see how the religion of peace began and how much peace it actually brought. So my first example is going to be the massacre of Banu Qurayza. In 627, after the Battle of the Trench, the Jewish tribe Banu Qurayza was accused of treachery. And as Ibn Ashaq records, between 600 and 900 men were executed, and their women and children were enslaved. The Quran later in chapter 33, verse 26 through 27, praises Allah for casting terror into their hearts. If your prophet's victory requires mass beheading and slavery, how exactly is that moral leadership? Now, my next example is going to be the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah. Don't quote me on that pronunciation, by the way. In 636, under Caliph Umar, Muslim forces annihilated the Persian army, and Al-Tabari details the slaughter and the fall of Ctesiphon. Now, it's funny how the so-called defensive wars in Islam always end in conquest. So this will bring me to my next example, the Devasirme, otherwise known as the blood tax. From the 1300s to the 1600s, Christian boys were seized, they were converted, and trained as janissaries. So stealing children for war, if that's divine justice, what does injustice even look like? Okay, and this will bring me to my last example, the Mamluk suppression of the Copts. In the 1300s, the Mamluk rulers in Egypt turned on the Coptic Christians, destroying and burning their churches and forcing conversions. So Muslims, don't call it coexistence when it ends in ashes and forced shahadas. So, understanding the examples I've went over, how historically how Islam has had a negative impact, now I want to talk about in what ways Islam has had a negative impact today. Because Islam's theology didn't reform, it simply found new victims. So, starting with example 1, the violent insurgency in Nigeria. Since 2009, Islamist urgencies such as Boko Haram and ISWAP have terrorized northern Nigeria. Since 2006, over 169,000 deaths have been recorded. Since 2009, over 2 million were displaced, and over 20,000 churches were burned and destroyed. If Islam is peace, then where's the peace? And why does the killing always quote the Quran? So this brings me to my next example, the Sharia enforcement in Islamic majority countries. In Saudi Arabia, public executions continue for moral crimes. Women are lashed for attending school. So if your law needs a whip to survive, it's not divine, it is dictatorial. Okay, so this will bring me to my next example, the religious cleansing during the Syrian civil war. In Syria, Islamist groups burned churches, executed priests, and mass unalived Christians. So show me one verse where Jesus ever said to kill for belief. I guarantee Islam can't. Okay, this will bring me to my last example, Iran's apostasy and blasphemy executions. Iran executes citizens for apostasy and blasphemy and also executes pastors, such as the Christian pastor Yusuf Narkanani, who is sentenced to death for leaving Islam. So if truth is so fragile that it needs executioners, maybe it isn't truth after all. Okay, so in light of every single example we've gone over, what do we understand from all of the data? All of the data points to one source, the influence of Islamic religion and law. So this is going to bring me to point 2 of our objective. These outcomes are not accidental, but are directly influenced by Islamic scripture and teachings. You can't blame culture when the command is written right in the Quran, okay? So we'll start reading verses like jihad, sharia, and apostasy. Starting with jihad. In verses like chapter 8:39, we'll read, let me get back to here. Chapter 8, verse 39 will read, "Fight them until there is no more persecution, and your devotion will be entirely to Allah. But if they stop, then surely Allah is all-seeing of what they do." Then chapter 9, verse 123, "O believers, fight the disbelievers around you, and let them find firmness in you, and know that Allah is with those mindful of Him." Then also looking at Sharia punishments. We'll read verses like chapter 5, verse 38. "As for male and female thieves, cut off their hands for what they have done as a deterrent from Allah. Allah is almighty and all-wise." And also chapter 24, verse 2. "The women and the men guilty of adultery flog each other, of them each 100 lashes. Do not let pity for them make you lenient in enforcing the law of Allah, if you truly believe in Allah and the last day." Then, looking at apostasy. So, in chapter 4, verse 39, we read, "They wish you disbelieve as they disbelieve, so you would all be alike. So do not take them as allies unless they immigrate in the cause of Allah. But if they turn away, then seize them and kill them wherever you find them. Take none of them as allies or helpers." Okay, so this will kind of sum up the point here. If you think this is a misinterpretation, take it up with your scholars, because they all agree on these rulings. So, given everything we've went over, let's close with an ethical evaluation. In the realm of ethics, is this positive or negative? In principle, ethics is about what promotes human flourishing, justice, and moral good. The data demonstrates that war, persecution, oppression, and loss of freedom are the result of the religious influence of Islamic beliefs and law. Islam has consistently harmed those values. It has prioritized obedience to Islam over compassion, peace, and liberty. Islam chose control over passion, and that's why every free society rejects it. So therefore, when measured by ethical standards of human rights, equality, and peace, the impact of Islam is ethically negative. You cannot call it holy when it violates everything holy it stands for. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. We'll kick it over to your partner, Nosce. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah,
as
you
well.
gonna run the slides for me, or
Yeah, let me share my screen now.
And if you haven't yet, folks, hit that like button. Do support the stream. We do appreciate you being here with us today on a beautiful Saturday. It's a sunny Saturday here in Las Vegas. And not only that, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. So we have many more debates coming up. And with that, we'll kick it over to Nosce. Thanks for being with us.
yeah. So my partner had went over a lot of historical stuff. We're going to look at the Quran and see what it actually says and how it still applies today. So with child marriage, if you look at 65:4, as for your women past the age of menstruation, which means menopause, in the case you do not know, their waiting period, their iddah, is 3 months. And those who have not menstruated as well, this would be the little girls who have not menstruated. As for those who are pregnant, their waiting period ends with delivery. So you got 3 categories in 65:4. They may try to argue that it's talking about young women maybe between the age of 13, 15. No, it's not. Because if we look here at Sahih al-Bukhari, volume 7, and the chapter 39, this is on page 52, the first I have highlighted in 65:4, it says, and their iddah, meaning their waiting period. You have to wait to make sure that the woman's not pregnant. So the 3-month waiting period for a girl before puberty is 3 months. Narrated by Aisha that the Prophet wrote the marriage contract with her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old. So it'd be kind of hard for them to try to justify that when it's in their own hadith. You'll see in Yemen, This photo is two child brides in Yemen with their husbands. Both of these girls are 8 years old, and the men is 27 and 33. It's estimated that 39,000 girls around the world in Islamic nations are being married underage. In 1982, the Iranian Civil Code designated minimum marriage age for girls was lowered to 9 lunar years, 8 years, and 9 months. And although the law was later amended, it still permits girls under the age of 13 to be married with judicial consent and paternal permission. So you can get married at 9 as long as you have the permission of your father. You'll find this in the 14th Amendment of the Iranian laws. So in Surah 33, 59, O Prophet, say to your wives, daughters, and believing women to draw their cloaks over their bodies. In this way, it is more likely that they will be recognized as virtuous and not be harassed, and Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. This shouldn't be alarming. This was here recently. In Iran, when a woman, Masa Amini, at 22 years old, she was unalived for not wearing her hijab. And you'll find that law, Islamic Penal Code of 1983. You'll see that men and women aren't equal. In Surah 2, 282, where I have highlighted, then one man and 2 women of your choice will be witnesses. So if one of the women forgets, the other may remind her. So you have to have 2 women as witnesses just to equal one man's witness. And it's verified by what the prophet says. The prophet said, isn't the witness of a woman equal to half that of a man? The women said, yes. He said, this is because the deficiency of a woman's mind. So I want to just take a time with child marriage so far and just the way that they treat women. Is that really better for society as a whole? And Surah 2, 223, your wives are like farmland for you. So approach them. It says consensually, that's not in the Arabic. They just put that in there to water it down. So approach them as you please and send forth something good for yourselves. Be mindful of Allah and know that you will meet him and give good news to the believers. I want them to answer me. Is it better for society for men to view their women as property or farmland? And Surah 434, where I have it highlighted, it's talking about discipline them gently. It's not what it says. It's talking about striking a woman if she's disobedient. In the Arabic on the right-hand side, even the word finally, the way that Quran.com translated, finally is not in there. It just says, and strike them. So to jihad, let those who would sacrifice this life for the hereafter fight in the cause of Allah, and whoever fights in the cause of Allah, whether they achieve martyrdom or victory, we will honor them with a great reward. This is where you start getting the extremist point of view. So I want to know, is the Quran still a better choice for society with this mindset? You, true Muslims, are the best of peoples, ever raised up for mankind, means the best peoples for the people as you bring them with chains on their necks till they embrace Islam. This is Sahih al-Bukhari 4557. Is it better for society here in the United States for Muslims to bring us in chains around our necks until we embrace Islam? Surah 533, indeed the penalty for those who wage war against Allah and his messenger and spread mischief in the land is death, crucifixion, cut off the hands, feet, opposite sides. So if the Muslims become a majority in the United States, I want to know that if I, as a Christian, want to maintain that and I want to evangelize, which is against Allah, Do they support me being crucified, cutting off my hands and feet on opposite sides? I would like an answer to that. So this is Jamie al-Tirmidhi, 1663. This is where all of the terrorists get there, where they want to go unalive themselves for the sake of Allah. He is married to 72 wives in paradise. So every time you hear about, oh, I'll get 72 wives for martyrdom, it comes from this hadith right here. Is this the best mind frame for society to go unalive in the name of a God to get just 72 virgins? Fight those who do not believe in Allah and the last day, nor comply with Allah and his messenger have forbidden, nor embrace the religion of truth among those who were given the scripture until they pay the tax, willingly submitting and fully humble or humiliated. So in the United States, I want to know that if I don't believe in Allah and the last day, nor embrace your religion, would you impose a tax on me here in the United States? Sir 9.5, but once the sacred months have passed, unalive the polytheists who violated their treaties. Wherever you find them, capture them and besiege them. They're going to say that this was something that was an agreement, and polytheists, they broke the treaties. But if you read the very first verse, it says that Allah discharges from all obligations by Allah and his messenger. It wasn't the polytheists who broke it. It was Allah and his messenger. So am I supposed to believe that this is the best thing for society, for a God and a prophet to lie, to break treaties? The messenger of Allah said, whoever changes his religion, kill him. Sunan Anisa 4059, grade Sahih. My question is, if I become a Muslim and then I change my mind and want to go out of it, here in the United States, if the Muslims are the majority, would you abide by this and want me killed? 2015, ISIS executes 21 Egyptian Coptics. I think all of us are familiar with this. ISIS, on February 12, 2015, released the video.
James, do you keep the time?
All right, good. In 2024, we see a terrorist attack that was claimed by ISIS in Moscow. 145 people died, 600 injured. This is an Islamic mentality. Is this best for society? The black box of United Airlines Flight 93 revealed that the hijackers yelling Allah Akbar. This was released by the FBI in 2006. So they did this in the name of Allah the Great, or Allah is bigger, he's greater. Is this the best thing for society? Obviously, October 7, 2003, Al-Aqsa flood. They stormed Israel. Here's all the hostages. All over their Islamic faith. Is this the kind of mentality that we want here in the United States? All for religious purposes. The last hour will not come unless the Muslim will fight against the Jews, and the Muslim will kill them until the Jews will hide themselves behind a stone or a tree and a stone, and the tree would say, Muslim or the servant of Allah, there is a Jew behind me. Come and kill him. But the tree would not say, for it is the tree of the Jews. Sahih Muslim 29:22. Is this right here the best for society to have this kind of mind frame? Ahmadinejad in 2005 wipe the Jews off the map. I'm sorry. Be erased. Is this the kind of mindset if you come to the United States, become a Muslim country, and then want to turn on Israel? Is that the best?
30 seconds left.
Thank you. So we see by statistics that over 71% of terrorist attacks are related to the Islamic faith. So when we look at child marriage, the way that women are treated, and terrorism, is this really the best for society? Is this better than what we have in the United States? Better than our Constitution? I would like them to answer that.
Thank you very much for that opening statement. We're going to kick it into the rebuttals. Just a couple of quick housekeeping things. Folks, if you have not yet, we do appreciate you hitting that like button. Also, as I had mentioned, DebateCon 6, bottom right of your screen, use the promo code at checkout, 25 Live, for a 25% discount. That's a quarter, in case you're slow today. That's a quarter off your ticket price for DebateCon 6. Check out the tickets link. This is going to be a huge 2-day conference in Nashville, November 15th and 16th. With that, thank you very much, gentlemen. I have the format here in front of me, and I do want to say, check out our guests that are linked in the description box. We're thankful to have them here. You can find more, but before you do that, we have 2 sets of rebuttals, 8 minutes for each team for both rebuttals. So we're going to kick it over to Perfect Dawah and Rashid. Thank you very much. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, I would like to say that they mixed a lot of things, okay? And I want to share actually, because they mentioned Iran as well, James. I want to share something. If I can share this link, can you please, because I couldn't share it on Zoom. There is a link I put in chat. Can you please share that? I appreciate it.
It's a lot of, so for me to start sharing, like you could send it to
All
your
right.
opponent, because it's just hard because OBS is already taxing on the
Okay,
computer.
all right, okay. So if I want to share on Zoom a link,
If
a
you use
site,
share screen, there's a green button at the top in the middle that says share screen.
share, yes, I see that. Okay, share, let me see if it is possible. Open the system. Is it coming something anymore? Or let me see, yeah, or Zoom, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, okay. And then I click on that. All right, nothing happens. All right, I don't know. But anyway, because I don't know how to share it. So the thing is that Nosce, he brought a lot of things like Iranian regime. It's a mafia regime, a terrorist regime that was placed by the West in 1979 when Iranian people made a revolution. First of all, when Iranian people chose a democratic elected prime minister in 1953, USA and UK brought him down and put a dictator in power, whose name was Shah. And in 1979, when Iranian people made a revolution against that puppet regime of the West, they brought Ayatollah fascist Khomeini in power because the opposition was left groups, and the West was afraid of left groups to join Soviet Union. That's why they brought Ayatollah fascist Khomeini to power. And these mullahs, I was going to share actually to show you how hypocrites they are. They don't believe in Islam. They don't. All they believe in is money. Everybody knows. All Iranian people know it as well. So please don't bring a bunch of. And I said in my opening that all these, things happening under the name of Islam because of that jungle system, because a bunch of people want to exploit religion. I do not take Christianity responsible for what the priests did in Renaissance time. They burned people alive. So I do not say that those were Christianity. And October 7th, for example, everybody knows that Israel knew that Hamas is going to attack. I can show you videos that two former Israeli prime minister, they said, Ehud Olmert and Ehud Barak, they said that Netanyahu helped Hamas because he wanted to put Hamas against PLO, because Netanyahu doesn't want peace and they don't want peace. So Israel knew very well, Israel that knew what time, where Hassan Nasrallah is going to have meeting and hit him there, and many other Iranian military leaders that hit them exactly where they had meeting. So such a country knew exactly what's happening beside him, but they allowed it to happen because they wanted to occupy Gaza. Even Egypt said that we warned, Netanyahu, but he ignored it. Okay, so please don't put these things on Islam. And I said it from the beginning, all right? So we go to those verses that you brought a bunch of stupid hadiths, fabricated hadiths from a bunch of businessmen called scholars, okay? So please don't bring, we said from the beginning, me and Brother Rashid, just concentrate on the Quran, okay? For example, chapter 9:29, it says, fight those among people of the book. Please, if you don't understand the language, okay, if you don't understand grammar, Allah understand and we understand. When it says fight those among people of the book, it doesn't mean all people of the book. A portion of people of the book. If I say fight those Americans who are racist, I'm not talking about all Americans. I'm talking about a portion of them. So fight those among people of the book who have no faith in God and the last day. And we go further, chapter 9, verse 34. We know who are they. Those are those who swallow people's wealth, those rabbis and priests who swallow people's wealth unjustly and avert them from the way of God. So it is not about, if you don't understand this verse, put it beside chapter 3, verse 113, 14, and 15. Let me bring it for you so that you understand what Quran stand for. Just a second, please. Yes. Chapter 3, verse 113, 14, and 15. Not all of them are alike. Of the people of the book are a portion that stand for the right. They rehearse verses of God all night long, and they prostrate themselves in adoration. They have faith in God and the last day. Because of faith, they enjoy what is right and forbid what is wrong. They hasten in emulation in all good works. They are in the ranks of the righteous. And whatever good they do, never will it be removed from them. And Allah is all knowing of the righteous. Chapter 60, verse 8. Allah does not forbid you from those who do not fight you and expel you from your home because of your religion, from being righteous toward them and act justly. Allah loves the doers of good. So these verses are going absolutely against your interpretation of those verses. All these verses, we can go through them and explain for you. Maybe Brother Rashid want to, go through maybe 65 verse 4. Yes, 65, 4, if you would like, or any other verses, Brother Rashid, that they brought up.
You're on mute, Rashid. Let me try to tap it. So,
Am
ready for you? Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yes, as the brother said that, yes, you did bring up a lot of verses, but I believe that you were reading those verses within the context that is outside of the Quran. So you were not reading them within the Quran. If you had done that, then you would understand what those verses are actually dealing about. Of course, I can't remember all the verses that you brought, but I do remember the different subjects that you brought. So I'll try to comment on those that I remember, and then you can ask later those ones that I miss. First, Nosce Apologetics, he brought, for example, talked about apostasy. I believe he brought up the two verses that he brought up, one in chapter 33, which is the one for, if I recall, where he was talking about women in that verse, which is, again, read within a context of outside it. Then he brought up the verse in chapter 4 about apostasy, which, again, if you just read the conversation on who that verse is talking about, you'll be able to understand I was talking about the hypocrites who had actually gone and sided with the other ones that were fighting the Muslims. So, and then you would understand why it is saying don't take awliya minhum, don't take allies from them. Allies, the word awliya that is mentioned in that specific verse is referring to coalitionists. So somebody you take in a time of war, a patron that you take in a time of war. So the reason why it uses that word is because they had allied themselves with the other people. So that's why the Quran in those verses asks the Muslims, فَمَا لَكُمْ فِي الْمُنَافِقِينَ فِئَتَيْنِ, what is the matter with you that you are two camps when it's regarding the hypocrites? That because there were certain people who thought that there was nothing wrong with these hypocrites. There was some because they had been family members, and some others said no, this is wrong. So they had kind of
Got 20 seconds, and I gotta wrap you up.
so again, I can't exactly comment on, because much of what you said, you read it from outside. So it's not like you used the Quran for me to comment on. But you can ask maybe a specific verse that you want me to tell you within the Quran, and I will try to answer it the best way that I can.
We'll kick it over to Mus and Nosce. The floor is all yours for your 8-minute rebuttal as well.
James, just I have to say fast, can you check the comments? I have written something, please. The messages.
Right. If you could email me, the only reason is if I open the comment box and Zoom,
all right, okay.
It warps the.
All right. No, I just was mentioning about the name again.
I know it's just that if I open up the messages tab in Zoom,
all right,
it scrambles up the Zoom window.
All right,
so
okay. No, my
you
name.
email me.
I told you from the beginning that if you can put it in the bracket, yeah. Thank you.
Oh.
The perfect Dawah, yeah.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Nosce.
Okay. So yeah, whenever you're ready, James.
Ready.
Okay. So he started off by saying, has religion been good for humanity? That's where we got to start off at. That's a vague generalization, because which religion? Because we're talking about Islam specifically. Its record is not measured in details or ideals, but in history. And that's what I mentioned initially, is the historical impact of Islam. Then I moved on to the modern impact. So instead of focusing on has religion been good for humanity and making that vague generalization, it should have stayed specific within the context. Now, next thing I want to address is that he wants us to lead with compassion, morality. God wants us to lead with compassion, morality. Then why does the Quran command retaliation, polygamy, wife beating, and killing apostates? Compassion isn't defined by slogans and cherry-picked verses that seem peaceful, which, given there is some peaceful verses in the Quran that teach things that can be good for humanity, but also you got to take into account the relevant information of things that aren't good for humanity, since you quoted chapter 4, verse 34. So next thing I want to also address is Jesus came teaching love. And you were talking about this and talking about how God's message was revealed gradually through prophets. Yes, that's exactly what Jesus taught, but where do you read that at? You don't read that in the Quran. You don't read any teachings of love that Jesus came with. You read that in the Bible. And if you're going to quote the Bible, then everything in it's going to go against Islam. Like Jesus said, love thy neighbor. The Quran doesn't teach anything like that. It teaches to fight your enemies, fight for the cause of Allah. It retaliate against those who would wish harm on you. You know, it teaches those kinds of things. Jesus doesn't want us to retaliate in that manner. That kind of manner is not taught in what we see in the Bible. And then I also want to address this too, that Islam reconciles humanity and solves all of its problems. So look at where Islam dominates. Iran, Afghanistan, Yemen, Somalia. Are those solved societies? I mean, Yemen has a high human trafficking rate. Iran continues to execute blasphemers and apostates. What about in Somalia as well? These are not solved societies. They're corrupt, they're harsh, harmful, and completely evil. So that's pretty much all I want to address for now. I'll pass it on to Nosce.
Yeah, so he made a statement in his opening saying that he wanted to move away from the stoning and the cutting off of hands to be more of a peaceful religion, because that is a man-made kind of punishment, I think, that he was implying. But maybe he can correct me on that. But how are you going to get around Surah 533? Indeed, the penalty for those who wage war against Allah and his messenger and spread mischief in the land is death, crucifixion, cutting off their hands and feet on opposite sides. Well, right now we're fighting Allah and his messenger because we're trying to debunk it. Not trying, we are debunking it. And spreading the true gospel instead of what Islam is. So we fit in all three of those categories. So according to Allah, it's crucifixion, cutting off hands on opposite sides. So I would like to know how he's going to change it to a peaceful religion when his God put it in their Quran. He says that alcoholism would go down. No, because according to the Herald Publishing Scholarly PubMed, 46.6% of Muslim college kids are found drunk. He made a comment about a spouse and having more integrity being a Muslim. Well, then explain to me, in taqiyya, you have political, jurisprudence, and social. The social, how is it that you're able to lie to your wife, but that holds integrity? He said something about burning alive Christians, talking about the past, what Christians did in the past. Show me in doctrine, in the Bible, where it says to go burn people for not believing in God. You can't find it in mine, but I can find it in yours. He said my interpretation of the Quran is false. Well, my friend, you're not the only one that's, if you do speak Arabic, I'm just assuming, you're not the only one that speaks Arabic, and not all Arabic speakers are Muslim. And some of the most scholarly people that I know who have showed me what these words are, it's very clear. And I backed it up with actual verses. Even your Quran says that it's clear. Let me go back. Surah 1689, Surah 4, 174, Surah 3, 7, Surah 6, 114, Surah 26, 2. They all say that the verses of the Quran are clear and be able to understand. So when I look at Surah 929 that you brought up, yes, I understand go fight them. I get it. That's your religion. I noticed that you didn't bring up any kind of rebuttal against any of the verses, Quran verses, against women and child marriage. That was a big part of my opening, and I'm wondering why y'all skipped the rebuttal on that one. You said you're from Sweden, and you say that you don't take hadiths and that they're fabricated. I'm wondering if you go down to Afghanistan or somewhere in that region and say that you don't take hadiths, the Sunnah, would you still be received by the Muslims then? I doubt it. I think that you left Islam since you're denouncing the hadiths. Only other thing I wrote down, which is nothing really, but he did bring up Surah 21, 105. It's kind of surprising. That's the Zabur, the scripture. If he believed in Surah 21, 105, he would believe also Psalms chapter 2, verse 7, where God states that he has a son. But as far as the rebuttal, I'm done with it.
This means we'll jump over to Perfect Dawah and Rashid. Your timer is set for 8 minutes as well, and this is the second set of rebuttals. So we'll have 8 minutes from the pro-Islam team, then 8-minute rebuttal again from the against Islam team. Then we'll have 20 minutes for cross-examinations, and then 8 minutes for clarifications, followed by closings. Ready
All
for
right.
you?
Yeah,
Floor is yours.
yeah. I just want to say thank you, Nosce, for takfiring me like the Muslim extremists do, saying that I'm not Muslim. First of all, I believe in anything that goes in line with the Quran, even Hadith. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said Muslim is the one that people are safe from his hand and mouth, but not hadiths that goes against the Quran. For example, when Quran says no compulsion in religion, and a stupid hadith by Bukhari says that kill those who leave Islam. Okay, so such a hadith goes directly against the Quran, and I do not take them. Okay, whether whoever said this, even if Prophet Muhammad, which absolutely I don't believe said it, he said against the Quran, which is absolutely wrong, because he wouldn't say himself in the Quran that no compulsion to religion, and then another side says that go and kill those who leave Islam. So, and about alcohol, I said practicing Muslims, that it is zero, not those who do not practice. If you practice Islam like me and Brother Rashid, you never drink alcohol. And we know 1 million people die from alcohol. Okay, and then about terrorism, all these things we said. About chapter 5, verse 33 that you brought up, it says, it is a statement. It says, those who fight God's commands is, as Jesus said, you live by sword, you die by sword, because these practices were practices of pagans, okay? And I will bring you the verses. For example, what Prophet Muhammad said, don't cut a tree. It is in the war. Don't kill child. Don't kill old people. Don't destroy a temple or a church. Don't destroy a building. Don't kill those who surrender. It's prisoners of war. Don't kill those who run away in the battle. And there are many others. Now, I give you from the verses of the Quran about prisoners of war. Chapter 76, verse 8 and 9. They give food for the love of him to the needy, the orphan, and the war prisoners. We feed you and say, we feed you only for the sake of Allah. We do not want any rewards from you nor a thanks. Chapter 47, verse 4. So when you meet the kuffar in the battle, strike them, their necks until when you have inflicted slaughter upon them, then secure their bonds. It is about prisoners of war. And either confirm favor afterwards or ransom them until the war lays down. Okay, so there are verses that says that we have to be either release them or or ransom them. And while they are in our captivity, we have to be good to them and we have to feed them. Now about chapter 5, verse 33, which you brought up, I have to read for you. It is Pharaoh's chapter 7, verse 124, chapter 20, verse 71, chapter 26, verse 49. All of them say, I will certainly cut off your hands and feet on opposite side, then crucify you all. These are not stories by the Quran. These are reminder by the Quran that you pagans, if you do not live by the Sharia of God, which is mercy, forgiveness, and love, then you, those who are like you, like pharaohs, they will do such things to you. So the verse doesn't say, if God wanted to say, as says in every other places, when he want to give us a command, he say, do it. For example, fight. Fight is a command, but to fight. Nosce. You have to understand language, the grammar of language. To fight is not an order. To fight is a statement, okay? So when the Quran says in this chapter 5, verse 33 says, their punishment is to be cut off their hands, to be crucified, and so on. And next verse explain it and says that except for those who repent before you capture them. So now, if I capture you in the battle, Nosce, okay, and you say, I repented 1 hour ago or 2 hours ago, what do I have to do? Do I have to crucify you? I don't know if you are lying or you are saying the truth. No, my duty was mentioned there, that I have to either release you as a favor or I have to ransom you. And while you are in my custody, I have to feed you, okay? So, and there are other verses that I would like to go. So this verse 533, please don't bring it up because this is not a command to me. This is, you live by sword, you die by sword. Okay, so this is not a command to me that I have to do such a things to you. All right. So, Brother Rashid, maybe you want to talk about 65 verse 4, which they brought child marriage, please, so that I don't talk alone, please.
Yes, the misunderstanding, of course, comes from that you are not reading the first word that it says in that verse. It's talking about women. It clearly says that, women. So the Quran makes a separation between women, nisa, and it makes a separation between children, banat, daughters, or young girls, sorry. That verse does not refer to girls that have not, that are still banat. It refers to nisa, adult girls, the adult women. It's not talking about, it doesn't use the word, it doesn't even use the word wife. It uses the adult word, nisa. And it continues that conversation. It says right there. So it's bizarre to me why you read that and then you assume that the later part, just because it is using a pronoun as those, it uses those, you assume that those is a reference to girls. No, those in that verse is a reference to the women that are mentioned at the beginning of the verse. That's quite simple to understand. I think you brought up the jihad verses also in your opening statements in chapter 9. But if you look at that chapter 9, from the very beginning, you brought up that, oh, when the sacred months have gone, then kill them wherever you find them. But in that, right on the next page, just in a few verses later, you can see the clear reasons why they're being fought against. Why did God disassociate himself from the mushrikeen? That reasoning is given is because they kicked out the prophet and they also broke their pact. That is actually also mentioned in the verses following after that. They did in fact break their pact multiple times, and that says also in chapter 8 that they broke their pact with the believers at multiple occasions. And then at last, God decided to now, okay, we are breaking the pact. You have 4 months to travel freely throughout the land because these 4 months are sacred months. Once those 4 months have gone by, then you are no longer allowed to occupy the house. That is the reason they kicked out the messenger. They came and fought the prophet, and then the prophet now has power over them. But even when he had power over them, as you can see, he actually gave them 4 months. They did not give him the same luxury. But he gave them 4 months because he wanted them to actually use that time in repentance because it is the sacred months. But they were not even obeying the sacred months. They, in fact, were obeying the custom of Nosce, that is intercalation, where they would interchange the months in order to fight. But when he got power over them, he put the months back and he ordered them to observe them that these months are not supposed to be for fighting. So the statement that that is chapter 9, no, you need to read that chapter again, please. You brought up, what was the question that you had asked? They touched on the women, the stoning. There's no stoning in the Quran. You brought up child marriage. I already touched on
533, 38, please. 538. They also touched about that.
Which one?
538, the chopping of hands of the thieves.
You talked about the chopping of hands. Again, that verse it doesn't tell you exactly. For example, where you are chopping or where you are, which hand or how many hands. So, for my understanding of that verse, is that the phrase that is being used there is not a reference to. It's not a literal statement, but rather it is a precautionary measure that is applied to these kinds of people. The same kind of term, the same term qata' has been used in the Quran.
20 seconds left.
And there it does not refer to that. I can't go into details right now because I don't have so much time for that verse, for that particular verse. But I would like to, if I can remember another topic that you brought up, or another question, but I can't remember it exactly. If you can ask it later, I would be able to answer it. But from the ones that I answered, that was the child marriage, the
9-5.
The 9-5.
And time.
Apostasy and that kind of thing, yeah.
We'll kick it back over to, this is for the final 8-minute rebuttal before we jump into the cross exams. And pardon earlier, I think I said 20 minutes for each team. We negotiated that over email that it would be 10 minutes for each team. But with that, we're going to do the last rebuttal. So that's 8 minutes from Mus and Nosce.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, whenever you're ready, James.
Ready.
Okay, awesome. So I want to begin by addressing Rashid's statement he made in his opening statement. I didn't get to address it last time when he was talking about the integrity and honesty that Islam is going to provide in an ideal society. Okay. I think we got to consider taqiyya here, because taqiyya is your permissible ability to lie. And if that's going to contradict integrity and honesty, you cannot uphold that in an ideal Islamic society where it's going to be viable, productive, it's going to be peaceful, things like that. Not at all. So I also want to point out to the audience here, what my opponents are doing is marketing Islam, not giving us a description of it. They cherry pick poetic kind of verses that hide the legal ones. They quote half of a surah and call that moral integrity. okay? But a religion must be judged by its entire evaluation, its history, and its fruit, okay? So there's something else I want to address there about considering in light of that we read verses that were outside or in context outside of the Quran instead of in the Quran, okay? I think the whole chat will tell you, all of us Christians here, the real Quran only Christians will tell you, all we do is just read. We don't need to interpret. We don't have to refer to scholars 100% of the time. We can just read it, understand it. It says it right there. Chop off the hands of thieves. It's never been translated in the way you would not expect it to be. It clearly, directly says it. The language is not ambiguous. It is not mistranslated. All of the translations out there will translate it the exact same way. So the word there that's being used cannot be misinterpreted or misunderstood. It's very clear. And something else I want to mention, though, because we touched on a little bit, quoting 434, that authorizes husbands to beat their disobedient wives. Now, if that's supposed to be your definition of fairness, you can't preach peace while quoting a verse that literally instructs domestic violence. Okay. And in a court of law, you're going to be thrown in jail for that as far as it goes. So, in your ideal Islamic society, according to United States law, or you can go to state law, you're going to be condemned pretty quick for doing stuff like that. I don't think that'll hold up too well, at least in moral integrity. So if the peaceful resolution is quoting 434, you're in a lot of trouble. I think something else I want to note, just for the audience and also for you guys, is a tree is known by its fruit, and Islam's fruit has been conquest, coercion, censorship. So when we talk about compassion, like you guys were, remember this isn't a religion that allows lying, beating, and killing in God's name. It's not guiding humanity forward. It's ultimately going to drag it backward. Okay, so, and I mentioned that because you're saying no compulsion in religion, but for thousands of years, that's exactly what Islam has been doing. I quoted a bunch of examples, especially there was Surmay, the blood tax, when they were converting Christian boys and training them to be Janissaries, or the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah, or when Caliph Umar led the Muslims and annihilated Ctesiphon and slaughtered them, or Banu Qurayza. This is not anything like non-compulsion. This is complete compulsion. So what Islam is commanded to do contradicts the theology you're upholding here, the standard. So I think with that said, I think I want to mention, though, because I mentioned it earlier in my opening statement, we're not here to redefine Islam like you guys are doing. We are here to hold it accountable to its own sources. And what its sources say are very clear. So interpreting it the way you guys do, I don't think would be held up in any kind of scholarship or even in academia. So I would be very clear about what the verses say. Go ahead, Nosce.
Yeah. So I would have to ask him, since he keeps throwing the hadiths and tafsirs, my question would be to him, then what about hadith science that the Sunnis always claim? They got hadith science. Are you saying that you're throwing all these scholars under the bus? And what measure are you taking to show that these are falsified? If you can't prove it, then why are Muslims using these hadiths to do what they do? So you say it's not about child marriage, okay? According to Ibn Abbas on the Tafsir 65:4, O Messenger of Allah, what about the waiting period of those who do not have menstruation because they are too young? What are you going to do about that? Are you throwing hadith science under the bus? Are you throwing all of the Sunni under the bus? Tell me. Yeah, last time I checked, the number 1 comes before 5. So in chapter, you brought up 9:5 again. It says, but once the sacred months have passed, kill the polytheists wherever you find them. It doesn't even say who violated the treaties. They added that in there just to soften it up. So it just literally reads, but once the sacred months have passed, kill the polytheists wherever you find them. They said that they were breaking a treaty. Well, the number 1 comes before 5. This is a discharge from all obligations by Allah and his messengers to the polytheists. It's not the polytheists that broke it. According to Surah 9:1, it was Allah and his messenger who discharged from all obligations. So now I asked again, since Allah and his messenger are able to just break treaties when they want to, how is this best for society? I just showed you the tafsir of Ibn Abbas. So since it's about prepubescent girls, tell me how this is best for society to allow girls under the age of, let's just say, 17, 18, but more accurately here, 9 years old. How is that better for society? If your tafsirs and your hadiths and your book was 100% clear as it claims, the Quran is clear, then why does over 80% of the Muslim population take it as we are giving it to you, and then you take it and say that's not what it means about? So why would I follow a religion that isn't even clear on these verses? How is that best for society where you have such a split?
20
You
seconds
made a
left.
blunder. Surah 7:124, cut off your hands and your feet. Yeah, that's what Allah commanded. Is that best for society to be cutting people's hands and feet? And by the way, that happened 1,400 years ago, the story with Moses and Pharaoh. Crucifixion didn't come until 800 years later by the Persians and the Romans. That's a flaw on your behalf. The Quran got it wrong.
That's actually time. So we
All
actually
right,
have to jump into
that's fine.
our cross-examination. So these are 10 minutes where each speaker roughly, it's up to you guys how you divide it. We'll get 5 minutes to cross-examine the other side. So if you want to do it where it's like, one person gets 7 minutes, their partner gets 3 minutes, or 5 and 5, it's up to you. But the timer is set for 10 minutes for Perfect Dawah and Rashid to cross-examine their opponents.
Yeah, Brother Rashid, you want to go or shall I go?
Yes, I would like to quickly respond
please.
quickly to what he just said. So, Moose, you brought up, you questioned my honesty there a bit. By accusing, coming up with taqiyya. Could you provide me a verse from the Quran which allows lying to one's wife or lying? A verse from the Quran, not hadith, a verse from the Quran which allows this concept of taqiyya in the way that you are understanding it. And then you brought up hadith sciences, Nosce. Yes, hadith science is not really a science. It's not. If you just look at it, it's not. That's just based on hearsay. There's nothing truthful about that. Not in the science itself. Sure, they might have some hadiths that are in line with the Quran, but the Quran already said what they say. And the Quran is the only authoritative source that we have, that any scholar within academia, even in the Western world, that's why they don't use hadiths in order to determine the life of the Prophet. Most of them don't. They will trace the Quran back to the Prophet, but they won't trace the hadiths back to the Prophet. And I'm talking about Oriental scholars, not the Muslim scholars. None of them use the hadith as a historical documents to tell the life of the Prophet. No. As for, this is just a case of what people do is what the religion teaches. No, that's just wrong. It's not true. What people do doesn't determine what the religion.
Rashid, this is a cross-exam. Do you have questions for us?
This would be good. We do, yeah. If it is to be different from the rebuttals, we do need you to actually just ask questions.
Okay. Yes. I would like to. Yes. I would ask my question. You like, for example, you brought up the verses in chapter 33 in your beginning opening, Moose. Do you remember the verse that you brought up in chapter 33?
I didn't bring up chapter 33, not that I recall.
Because you did bring up a verse when you were talking about the incident of Banu Qurayda and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah. Allah praised, Allah, excuse me, hang on.
About
Yeah, chapter 33, 26 through 27, praises Allah for casting terror into their hearts. That was in context of the Banu Qurayza, yeah.
yes, and you found that problematic, right? That God casting terror. Is that something that you find God wouldn't do that, or what?
What would you, okay, I can't ask a question back. Yeah, this is not peaceful at all. If it was good for society, then peace would be the ideal. Instead, his response is to cast terror into their hearts.
But I mean, this is a convention of God throughout the Old Testament as well. God casting or letting terror go through the enemies of the Israelites. This is not something new.
Well,
You
I
read it in
mean,
Exodus.
you can't take the context of what we're talking about to the Bible. We need to focus on the Quran at the moment.
Yeah, but I'm
The
saying
Quran standard is
asked
not
you
peaceful.
before. That's why I asked you before. Do you think God would never do that? That's why I asked you. So you said no. Then that means that you also wouldn't accept it there. You can't say I accept it here. God would do it here, but He wouldn't do it here.
We don't believe in the same God you do, so you'd have to stick with the question of
I'm
your
not
God.
saying God. I'm just saying God.
Okay,
It
yeah.
doesn't
So
matter if God.
okay, yes. In context of Islam, then your God would be doing something which puts him out of the fold of it being a good, ideal, viable, and productive society like you're picturing it as, because he's not spreading peace and stability to societies. Instead, he's casting terror into their hearts and allowing the mass killing of them.
Muji, you want to ask a question, or should I ask more questions? Or
Yeah. I would like to say, of course, if the leader of UK during the Second World would say, I would cast terror in the heart of Nazi Germans, I don't think that any rational person would say that's wrong, okay? Because you have to fight the enemy. And if you disagree with that, you better say to Ukrainian now fighting Russian, okay? To love Russians, all right? So please put things in the context. And as we said, another thing is that you said Taghiya. My own brother has been unalived or killed by these so-called Islamists that I told you, and we have been fighting them in 45 years. I'm a great enemy of that Islam that you and these extremists say and follow, okay? I'm a great enemy of that, and I have been fighting that, Islam in so many years. Chapter 3, verse 7, you said, it is He who has sent down to you, O Muhammad, the book. In it, there are verses that are precise. They are the foundation of the book, and others are unspecific. As for those whose heart is corrupted, they will follow only the unspecific, desiring to create confusion and their own interpretation. And no one knows its true interpretation except God and those firm in knowledge. And they say we believe in it, all of it is from our Lord. So as a firm in knowledge, I have to say, I believe in it, all of it is from my Lord. So I have to follow chapter 60, verse 8 as well, that Allah says, Allah does not forbid me from those who do not fight me because of my religion and expel me from my home, from being righteous toward them and act justly. So there are many verses in the Quran that guides me and order me to be just, to be, loving towards others. And those verses that you brought, for example, chapter 9, verse 5, if you continue, the next verse, it says, how can there be a treaty between God and his messenger with the mushrikeen, except for those with whom you made a treaty at the secret house? As long as they remain true to you, be true to them. God loves those who are mindful of him. The next verse says, again, what sort of treaty is this? Since if they gain the upper hand, they will not respect any agreement or obligation to protect you. They please you with what they say, while their hearts remain averse. Most of them are kuffar, to God. Disobedience to God, So these are the context that you have to as well read. When you take one verse and change the interpretation as chapter 3 verse 7 said, and then say that this is the Quran. So you have to tell me, if you are not a Muslim, if you are a Muslim, you have to tell me which verse I have to follow. Does Quran contradict itself or complete itself? For me, it completing itself. So for you, tell me, do I have to follow as chapter 3 verse 7 says?
I just need a question though.
Yeah, I'm asking you. Chapter 3 verse 7 says, I have to say, I believe it in it, all of it's from my Lord. So when chapter 60 verse 8 says that I have to be righteous towards those who do not fight me, do I have to follow that verse as well or not, Mouse?
Well, I mean, you have to follow all of the Quran regardless. So
Yes,
that
yes.
verse, I mean, your interpretation, not at all. You need to read it for exactly what it says, not some ambiguous
It's
retelling
clear.
of what the reading could be.
No, it's
Have
clear.
to follow it for what it exactly says.
Okay,
yes.
can you tell me? Yeah, can you tell me what it says, chapter 60, verse 8? So maybe you can help me to understand. Chapter 60, verse 8. Let me read it for you myself. 60, verse 8. So tell me what I have to do. As a Muslim, it says, Allah does not forbid you from those who do not fight you because of religion and do not expel you from your homes from being righteous towards them and act justly towards them. Indeed, Allah loves the doors of good. Okay? So please tell me, what is my command now? Do I have to fight you or do I have to follow these words, please?
Okay,
Because
so
because you understand better Islam than me, yeah? The Quran, please.
okay, so as soon as conflict, rejection, or opposition to Islam occurs, you're going to read the next verse that immediately limits the peace. So, yes, at first glance, it sounds like it's teaching some
Yeah.
kind of peaceful coexistence
Yes.
with non-Muslims, but the context, and also you can read the tafsir if you want, it shows it's conditional. So, would you read the next verse?
Yes,
So I can continue answering your question?
Yeah, next verse. All right. It says, next verse says, yes, Allah only, so remember, Allah only forbids you from those who fight you because of religion and expel you from your homes and aid in your expulsion. Forbids that you make allies of them, and whoever makes allies of them, then it is those who are, yes, wrongdoers. So it is exactly, so I don't have to, as a Ukrainian, I don't have to make allies with Russians who fight me. So it is very clear. I have to be, peaceful towards Polish and others, yes, but I don't have to be peaceful towards Russians. Yes,
Time.
please. Yeah.
We're at time. That's 10 minutes of the cross exam. We're going to kick it over to Mus and Nosce for their 10-minute cross exam of our Muslim friends.
Yeah.
You want to go first, Nosce, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
So, Muji, how old was Aisha when Muhammad married her?
According me, 19 to 21.
Okay, so you don't believe the Sunni that she was 6 years old and consummated at 9?
So unfortunately, you cherry pick because those scholars say Prophet Muhammad split the moon. You do not agree with that, but you agree with such a things. I do not agree with any of them. I do not agree that.
Yeah, that's
Prophet
fine.
Muhammad,
I just need the yes or no.
So no, I do not agree with them. They were a bunch of liars.
All right, cool. So all 50 states of the United States have domestic violence laws that prevents a man from striking a woman. So in Surah 434, it doesn't say discipline, it says to strike them. How is this better for society to allow a man to strike a woman?
All right, now I go for you with 434, okay? I will explain for you what the verse says, okay? The verse says, yes, men are providers of women by what Allah has given over them to others and what they spend from their wealth. So righteous women are devotedly guarding the husband's absence.
I'm sorry, you're not answering the question.
So, yeah, I'm trying to tell you. So anyway, the verse.
Can you stop our time because he's not answering?
Okay, yes. Strike has been used in Quran 34 times. strike the road. Doesn't mean that you have to hit the road. It's travel. So this verse says, leave them. The next step is to leave them, separate your bed and leave them. And then next.
That's not what I asked you. I asked very specifically, does this verse say strike the woman?
And I told you no.
Okay, so
because the strike has been used many times in the Quran with different meanings. So why you take it exactly here, a strike?
okay, so in the Quran, it literally uses the word strike, does it not?
Yeah,
yes or no?
You use the strike, but that doesn't.
Okay,
and
good.
I told you 34 times.
Stop.
Yes.
So then, my question is, we have domestic violence laws in America to prevent a man from striking a woman. How is Islam better for society when it allows a man to strike the woman?
Again, you don't understand what I said. I said strike has been used in the Quran 34 times in different meanings. So this verse doesn't say strike her physically. It says leave her. Okay. And next verse 435 is
no. That's fine. That's all I wanted. Yes. That's all I wanted.
So I do not accept that. Yeah.
So do you agree with Surah 2:23 that the women are property of the man? And how is that better for society?
I don't remember, Brother Rashid. Do you?
He brought that verse up before also. Nisa'ukum haruthul lakum. That your women are your.
Yes.
I think you used farming lands. You translated it as a farming land, right?
You can just answer the question. Yes.
Yeah,
I gave you the verse, Surah 2, Baqarah 2:23. Can you answer my question? Is it better for society to view woman as the property of the man, where it's not that way here in the United States?
No, they are not property.
According to this verse, it says they are.
It doesn't.
But explain for him, Brother Rashid. I don't think he understands it.
These are statements that are used in order to refer to one another in terms of something that is precious to you. So back then, the things that were precious to men, one of them was harth. So it uses the word harth here. The word that is used for cultivation is something that you actually tender to, that you care for. So it uses this word. It's not using it in the terms of property. Just like if I said my wife is a jewel, is a pearl, I describe her using a thing that I hold dear. So it uses the word harth because at that time people really valued that kind of thing.
Okay, so when it says your wives are like farmland, what other interpretation do you have for the word farmland?
It is using, as I said, it is using it as a way that they are dear to you. So go to them in a way that you please. It's using it that they are in both a metaphorical sense, but also in
what does the Arabic word mean there?
I just said I just told you it means cultivation. That there are something that
you treat the women like cultivation. Got it. Okay.
Yes, there are something that you care for, that you cultivate, you grow together. That's what it uses it in that sense, not in the sense that you mean.
But do you take any of the hadiths and tafsirs?
Not as religious authorities.
So you don't take any hadiths?
Not as religious authorities.
Okay, can you tell me why the majority of Sunnis, the majority of Islam, take the hadiths as the words of Muhammad?
That could be due to multiple reasons. One of them is political. Another one is social, and also because they were more spread at the time than the Quran was. So it's
since the majority.
Can I answer you, please? I have said it many times, Nosce, that if I also was born in a remote village in Afghanistan, I would also follow those hadiths, okay? So they are uneducated. They just rely on these scholars.
How much time we got, James?
Yes.
Yeah, so, 4 minutes and 19 seconds.
All right, go ahead, Mus.
So don't bring majority of people.
Hey, James, really quick. I have to turn my camera off. It's going to use my hotspot. Am I okay to do that?
Let's see. Sure. I'll just rescramble. It's not a big deal if I have to.
Okay. Yeah, I
might
don't
not
want to
have
use all this up and have to cut off or anything.
That's okay. I think we'll be okay. Give it a shot, and I might not even have to rescramble it. I think it's oftentimes when a person turns their camera back on. So we might be okay.
Okay, awesome. There we go. Okay.
Ready for you.
Okay, awesome. Muji, let me ask you, is Muhammad the best example for mankind? Just be a yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. So do you affirm his enforcement of Haddad and his conduct in warfare as normative?
Well, sorry, which one is Haddad?
Haddad in his conduct in warfare.
Means
Do you know
hudud.
hudud? Okay,
Yeah,
which one?
Rashid,
Yeah,
you,
yeah, hudud. Okay, hudud means you want to say punishment. Which one? Yeah, you're talking about? Can you please tell me?
in warfare, do you affirm that as normative?
Please, I read for you beginning that what is his hudud in war? Don't kill children, innocent people, and so on. So please tell me which one you are talking about.
Okay,
If it goes
that's
against the
fine.
Quran, it's not from the Prophet.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you think that's good for humanity?
Yes, anything he said and did is good for humanity because he followed the
Good.
Quran perfectly.
Haddad is good for humanity. Okay, next question. Yes or no, does Quran 29:29 command fighting the people of the book until they pay jizya while humble?
Didn't I say it from beginning, most, that it said fight those among people? Please,
Just a simple yes or no, that's all I
yes,
need.
I tell you, no, you tell me people of the book, which is wrong. It didn't say people of the book. It says those among people of the book, okay, who do not have faith in God and the last day, and they do not forbid what is forbidden. All right, so it is the cause is not just
Okay,
yes,
do you
just I
affirm
have
that
to fight
it
you,
commands
like
to fight people? Do you affirm that?
not people, those who are hostile, those who attack you, not
Okay,
just people.
well,
And
it
I
doesn't
read for
say,
you chapter
but if
60, verse
Islam is
8.
peaceful, then why admit that it commands action would be the follow-up? But since you don't affirm that, okay. So I'll just move on to my next question then.
Don't
Okay,
say
so this
people.
would be for Rashid. Okay, if a modern state enforced verses like 24:2 and 538, would you immigrate there with your family?
It will depend if they also enforce the other laws of the Quran. They cannot just enforce those two and then I would move there. They can enforce those two but do other bad things.
Okay, so if you do you think that's good? Those two verses are good for that society that you're going to immigrate with your family to?
Yes, the verses are good. There's nothing wrong with the verses.
Yeah,
So
okay,
it's good to chop off the hands of thieves.
I already
no,
explained that part of chopping
yes,
hands. So I
Okay.
don't know why you are saying chopping. I already told you about it. The
it's not
chopping hand.
chopping. It's
That one.
arresting
Yeah.
them. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
arresting them. Arresting them.
Okay,
Okay.
Muji, I have a question for you then. Do
Yes,
you
please.
concede your pacifist belief is a minority view?
Sorry, I didn't understand it very well. Once again.
Do you concede that your pacifist belief is a minority view?
It might be minority, but we will be the majority, as the Quran says. Finally, my righteous people will rule and inherit the planet. And I said, if I was born and living in a village in Afghanistan, I would be among those majority. Thanks God, I'm living somewhere else. Okay,
Okay.
and I have educated
So if
myself.
Islam's truth is what most Muslims have believed in practice, why should the audience even accept your revision of Islam as true Islam? Because
They
this
are
is a
not.
minority view, not the
Yes.
majority.
Yeah, they are not forced to accept it, and we
That's
will.
not what I'm asking.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, they
Let
are
me
asking you,
not.
ask
why
him.
should
Let
the
me ask
audience
him.
accept this revision as true Islam?
Let me ask him
Because
something else real quick. So you said you're the minority. Would you say that the majority of Muslims right now is better for society when they use these verses to have child marriage and to commit terrorism?
And I told you from beginning, I've been fighting them in 45 years.
That's,
Yes.
that's not what I asked.
No, I said I do not agree with them. Okay. Yes.
We have run out of time. We are going to jump into the next segment. Do want to do a couple of quick housekeeping things. Folks, if you have not seen it, pinned at the top of the chat, we have a new Facebook page. We just uploaded a clip at that Facebook page, which is pinned at the top of the chat, featuring apostate prophet versus Neil on this very topic, Islam, whether or not it is good for society. Check out our new Facebook page. Follow us there as we're going to upload more clips there. We do appreciate your guys' support as we get this Facebook page off the ground. With that, we're going to jump into, we have 8-minute clarifications for each team. So, keeping in order, Perfect Dawah and Rashid, you have 8 minutes to make any clarifications.
Brother Rashid, you go first.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, I would like to clarify, yes, because what seems to be the case here is that it's just a case of Muslim are doing it, therefore it's what the religion teaches, and that's not how you should judge a religion. I mean, it doesn't work for Christianity, it doesn't work for Judaism, it doesn't work for any religion when you see it that way. And also another case of the majority. That's what the majority are doing. Therefore, that's what the religion teaches. Again, that's not true, because again, if we look at other religion and through biblical sources, that's not exactly what we see. So it's not like you can just, this is what we do for Islam, but for other religion we apply different rules. I would like to clarify one thing that I did not touch on in terms of verse number 5 of chapter 9, which you kept bringing up, Nosce. If you read verse number 4, it does tell you about the breaking of the pact. Look at verse number 4 right there. It tells you exactly that they did in fact break pacts. If you read verse number 4, but I don't know why you skipped verse number 4 and straight to verse number 5. It says إلا الذين عاهدتم من المشركين ثم لم ينقضوكم شيئا. It says ثم لم ينقصوكم شيئا. It says right there, except those whom you made a pact with among the polytheists. So it's putting an exception of those people whom Allah has disassociated from, except those whom you made a pact with at the Masjid al-Haram of the Mushrikeen, and then they did not break or they do not defy you in any way, okay? And they did not aid anyone against you. Then it tells you, فَأَتِمُّ إِلَيْهِمْ عَهْدَهُمْ. Then you are to fulfill their covenant with them until its term. Okay, so they didn't break the covenant. So I don't know why you skipped that and went straight to verse number 5. But one other thing the other thing that I asked was the taqiyya. There's no such thing as taqiyya as far as the Quran is concerned. This is an outside concept that has been levied against Sunni Muslims, even within the Sunni Muslims community, for example. That concept of taqiyya is even not accepted. It's not something that is accepted even within the Sunni tradition. So this is a popular accusation that has been levied towards the Muslims, and the Christians pick it up and assume that it actually has its origins from central Islamic sources. No, it doesn't actually. The Quran doesn't say anything about this. That you can lie to your wife or that you can lie to somebody. No, it tells you that you're supposed to speak the truth. وَلَوْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ. When you bear testimony, it tells you you are supposed to bear testimony even if it's against your own self. So how can he tell you bear testimony even if it's against yourself or your parents or your near relatives, and then at the same time tell you, you can lie to say no? Of course it doesn't. So the idea of taqiyya, no, this is a cheap shot.
Brother Rashid, can I say something now?
Yes, sure.
About 434, I want to say that Quran chapter 3 verse 100, chapter 33 verse 28, 29, 30, 31 is about Prophet Muhammad and his domestic problem. O Prophet, say to your wives, if you should desire the worldly life and its adornment, then come, I will provide you and give you your gracious release. So if you read the verses, and then again, chapter 66, verse 1 to 5, again about Prophet Muhammad and his domestic problem. Not a single word there to strike his wife. And there are many verses, for example, chapter 43, verse 5, strike is ignored. Chapter 4, verse 101, strike is trouble. There are many. Chapter 18, verse 11, strike is cover. So you ignore all these verses and you think that, yes, we have to, in this verse is beating your wife because, that's what everybody do. If God wanted to send me a message, is what I don't do. People have been beating their wives throughout the history. Only 3 months in 2019, in lockdown in Mexico, 1,000 women were killed in domestic, violence. So imagine how many million women were beaten by their husband. They don't follow the Quran. People don't need to follow God's command to beat their wives. So God didn't send us something that we are doing already. He sent us things that we are not doing, okay? So chapter 4, verse 34 doesn't say that. Next verse explain it very well. And then you about hadith science, you said, I said you cherry pick because if you accept the hadith so-called sahih, then you have to accept that Prophet Muhammad split the moon as well, which I do not accept any of them, okay? So Taqi as well, I said that I've been fighting this Islamic extremism, and that Islam that you believe and interpret. Yes, I'm very much against that Islam. And chapter 3 verse 7 said the precise verses are the foundation of the book, okay? And those whose heart is corrupted, they follow only the unspecific verses, as unfortunately you do. You take one verse here, one verse there, and you do not follow all the verses, like chapter 60 verse 8 that said Allah does not forbid you from those who do not fight you because of your religion to be just towards them and act justly. So yes, unfortunately, yeah, brother Rashid, if you want to say something more.
What was it? No, I think I.
All right, so I'll continue in that case. I say chapter 42, verse 23, anyone who does good to others, we give more good for him in it. Chapter 22, verse 37, because you said Quran doesn't teach love, okay? Give good news to those who do good to others. Chapter 39, verse 10, ultimate good await those who do good in this world. Chapter 28, verse 77, do good to others as Allah has done good to you. There are many verses that I can read for you that Allah teaches me to be good to those who, do not fight you and expel you from your homes. Yeah, okay.
Yes, and of course, I mean, I brought up multiple verses in my opening statements which were not touched upon. I mean, all the arguments that I brought, moral integrity, honesty, compassion, all that stuff, justice and equity and fairness and the treatment of orphans and captives and all that. None of those aspects were touched upon. Those
Yes.
I consider those to be good for society. All of those ones, which is the basis of the Quran. If you read throughout the entire Quran, yes, you will find military related verses, but when you read throughout the entire Quran, and then you were to summarize the repeated commands or the repeated exhortations within the Quran, what you will find is that it talks about one, the connection that one has to God, and the connection that one has to the creation of God, and that in relation to how one treats, number one, how one treats one's parents. So right after God comes one's
15
parents,
seconds.
one's near relatives, and then comes the other people, the orphans, the needy, the wayfarer, the travelers, and the captives, and all those. But again, I consider those to be good for society, and those are what the Quran teaches predominantly. The other verses, they just come in places here and there, but they're not repeated all the time. So they don't form the core of the Quranic message.
You got it. We are going to jump into the 8-minute clarification from the, you could say, Against Islam's Effects on Society group team. The floor is all yours for 8 minutes.
You want to go first, Nosce?
No, you can. This is like our
Okay.
conclusion, right?
No, our
No,
conclusion
actually,
follows.
there's a conclusion right after this.
Okay,
This is
go ahead.
almost like reverse rebuttals.
Okay,
Is
go
there a
ahead.
Q&A? Sorry, is there a Q&A?
There definitely is a Q&A. We actually got a good amount of questions during this debate. The only reason I say actually is just because this is different from our usual stream time, but we have a lot. So we definitely will have a Q&A.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'll start it once. It's fine. All right,
Okay.
so we got our 8 minutes now.
Yep.
So you say that I must accept all of your hadiths like Muhammad split the moon. Of course I accept it because it's written. And it just contradicts the Quran that Muhammad has no miracles. Where else would I have material to use if I didn't take it at all? Again, my friend, Sir 9-5, you brought up 4, that they broke the treaty. Of course they're going to break the treaty because in verse 1, Allah said, and his messenger said that it was no longer to be held. The treaty was no longer to be held. you can give charity and still marry a 9-year-old. I mean, how is this better for society? You bring up the orphans. Atheists adopt orphans. So how is Islam better for society than an atheist? Charity, the widows. I mean, you can have atheists that take care of widows. Why is Islam better for society? We just barely touched on child marriage and women, but you didn't really give a argument of why it's better for society. This is where we're trying to get to. But you did make the comment, and I'm making this as the clarification because I asked you, is the mainstream Islam good for society? And you replied with, that's what you're fighting against. So that gives me my answer that no, Islam is not good for society until Muji converts all these other Muslims, these other Sunnis. So thank you for my answer. Go ahead, Mus.
Okay. Yeah, I first want to actually clarify because of the cross-exam question I was originally asking that I didn't really get a full answer to. Because if Islam is really peaceful, why admit that it commands violent action? It does command to fight people, but kind of interpreted a weird way to what it doesn't actually say. So it disappoints me. So I want to ask another follow-up question after that. You champion Quranic forgiveness verses, but do those verses legally cancel Hadad, Jizya, war verses? Are they private virtues alongside public punishments? Because I would really love it if you would cite the pre-modern jurist who would rule in favor that forgiveness abrogates Hadad, because those things are pretty clear, really fully explained in the Quran, but seems like we're not affirming what the Quran really says. So, and I really want to clarify a bunch of my points too, to begin with, because I mentioned in the very beginning, we are not here to redefine Islam. We're here to hold it accountable to its own sources. So when I mentioned Banu Qurayza and how the Muslims massacred their men, between 600 and 900 men, I held it accountable to Surah 33, which clearly says Allah cast a terror into their hearts. Okay, that is not peaceful. That sets a terrible example for an ideal, peaceful, and viable society when it mentions the most unpeaceful thing ever, killing people. That in no way is peaceful. Okay, so that's something to definitely clarify. And also, with conquest, considering in light of the fact that you fight for the cause of Allah, fight those who would. Matter of fact, let me read that verse one more time. It was chapter 4, verse 89. Nosce, do you still have that up? Could you read that?
Which one do you may read?
Chapter 4, verse 89. It was on my slide for Gia. I don't
Four,
have it up
sorry,
anymore.
4 verse what again?
89.
89. Yep. It says, they wish you would disbelieve as they have disbelieved, so you may all be alike. So do not take them as allies unless they immigrate in the cause of Allah. But if they turn away, then seize them and kill them wherever you find them. And do not take any of them as allies or helpers.
Yeah. So, I mean, if there's any kind of restriction to freedom of belief, then Islam wouldn't be allowed in America, not at all, if it was killing apostates, but it's allowed elsewhere. And since it's allowed elsewhere, but either in Europe, Northern Africa, Southern Africa, it rejects Islam for the amount of terror it causes on people. So when I mention these things and you interpret the Quran to mean a whole different thing, then you must go and tell these terrorists that what they thought for the entire time, their whole mission is based on their misinterpretation or misunderstanding of the Quran, which cannot be acceptable. You need to stop supporting Islam as a Muslim if this is what truly causes such disstability in the Middle East and so on. Stop supporting Islam. Instead, put your faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. He will set you free like he will with all others, not make you be killed just because you want to be an apostate. Nothing like that. So your support of Islam does not help it. Okay. And how much time do we have left?
2 minutes and 7 seconds.
2 minutes?
That's right.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, you may say something. So just a clarification to him also. This right here, Islam, by Dr. Mark Gabriel, PhD. He is a Muslim. So when we bring up Taqiyya, I'm sorry, and he's talking about lying to the wives, he was a Muslim that lived this. He converted. So you can't say there's people that's misinterpreting what the Quran says or what the Hadith say. Go ahead, Mus.
You know what? I think what I want to do here is actually re-show this. Because when I looked at all the data points to one source, historically, throughout history, Islamic teachings inspired conquest, forced conversion, persecution, leading to the decline of freedom and cultural diversity. None of these can be allowed in Islamic societies where it's prominent. You know, these guys were mentioning, you know, in a progressive, a viable and productive society, Islam gives that solution and really does produce this. But when we look at like some of the examples I rebutted with earlier, like Yemen, Afghanistan, you could go to the West Bank. I mean, Northern Africa, Southern Africa, these places are the most unstable ever. And the reason why is because of Muslims, not because of their misinterpretation of the Quran. It's their doctrinal belief that enforces their very actions. So, in light of every bit of that, where do we find that in the Quran, right? So, inspiring it comes directly from verses like 839, 9:123. Sharia punishments, 538, 24:2, 434. Apostasy, like we just read, 489, 16106, 533. We mentioned that one too. So if these people are just misguided and everybody else should just, and you know, no, instead of you know, not supporting Islam, we should just reinterpret it, or you know, we could just throw it out the window, be an atheist. Your option that seems the most viable is to produce some kind of new Islamic society instead of solving it with a better option. Islam doesn't teach any bit of what you guys believe it does.
With that, we're going to jump into the closing statements before the Q&A. So thanks for your questions, folks. And if you haven't yet, you can fire a question into the standard live chat with just tagging me at Modern Day Debate. Otherwise, if you use a super chat, those get pushed to the top of the list for the Q&A. This one coming, I should say closings, we'll kick it over to Perfect Dawah and Rashid. You got 12 minutes split between you two. The floor is all yours.
All right, thank you. I have to say, as I said beginning, many times I have said, you unfortunately you take Quranic verses out of context, and you take political actions also. You know, blame Islam for that. For example, you said Middle East, and I told you from beginning, if your countries, USA and Europe, especially USA and UK, didn't bring Ayatollah Fascist Khomeini to power in 1979 and support him until today, Middle East would be a peaceful, democratic region. Unfortunately, you just check Google, a single terrorist attack before 1979, you cannot find it, because you brought that Ayatollah Fascist Khomeini to power and helped him. Even I said, we have been fighting that regime in 45 years. Unfortunately, the West have been killing us, bombing us, and you know, so that we don't bring this fascist regime, you know, down and create a democratic, you know, society, country, because that democracy in Iran will spread into the entire Middle East, which the West doesn't want. They want to sell their weapons. They want to buy cheap oil. So please don't blame such a things on Islam, because, and then we have been fighting, and I am going to fight. Yes, I'm going to fight. Brother Rashid, we are fighting against these extremists, And yes, we will, finally we will defeat them in the future. And you said, for example, Bani Qurayza, again, you cherry pick, as I said, if you want to follow these fabricated hadiths, then you have to accept Prophet Muhammad split the moon as well, which you do not accept. All right, because if you accept, then you have to believe that he was the prophet of God, which I don't agree with any of them. All right, and then you said again a verse, chapter 489. You take it out of the context, and then you don't read the next verse, 490, unless it be such of them who seek refuge with the people who are joined with you by a covenant, or those who come to you because their heart shrinks from fighting. Listen, shrinks from fighting either against you or against their own people. Had Allah so willed, He would certainly have given them power over you, and they would have fought against you. If they leave you alone and do not fight you, listen, most. If they leave you alone and do not fight against you and offer you peace, then Allah does not permit you to harm them. So please put verses into context. Don't take, as I said, chapter 3, verse 7 says, those whose heart is corrupted, they follow only the unspecific verses, interpret it in their way because they want to create confusion. And that's what you want to do, unfortunately. You don't read the next verse and next verse that says Allah, these things that Allah does not allow you fight those who fight you as long as they fight. And if they stop fighting, you stop fighting too, because Allah does not like those who transgress. So please don't take verses out of the context. And I want to say fast, after this debate, I will continue on my channel. I go live so that if you would like, you can join me, or anybody in the chat. If you want to join, please join, and we will continue there, and we will discuss more. Perfect Dawah. So, and I go live every Saturdays as well, 6 p.m. UK time. Brother Rashid, you want to add something, please? You are muted.
James, how much time do I have left? Do we
okay,
have
he's gone. You can talk.
For now. But yeah, it seems to me that this issue of chapter 9 is difficult for our brother Nosce here to understand. So I'm going to read it from the first verse so that he gets the context, because it doesn't seem like giving him the information. It seems to be going in one ear and coming out the other. So here we go. Verse number 1 of chapter 9, a dispensation granted from God and his messenger to those with whom you made a treaty among the associators. So there are certain people whom he made a treaty among the associators, not all of them, among them. Then it says, travel freely throughout the land for 4 months, but know that you are without the ability to undermine God, and that God is fully determined at debasing the perfidious or the kafirin. Similarly, an announcement from God and his messenger to mankind on the day of the greater pilgrimage, that God is free from the associators, and so is his messenger. If you, the associators, turn repentant from your ways, then it will be better for you. But if you turn away, then you should know that you are without the ability to undermine God. Give thou glad tidings of profit of a painful torment to the kafirin, or the perfidious, or the disbelievers, as is also translated, with the exception of those with whom you made a treaty and who did not betray you in anything at all. This is the continued conversation. And they did not betray you in anything at all, nor assisted anyone against you. You are to thence fulfill their treaty until its duration. Until its duration. For surety, God does love the considerate, or the muttaqin. Then, when the sacred months have worn off, then kill the associators wherever you find them. Now, why? Why is it that after the sacred months? Because the sacred months, you are not supposed to fight. Okay, that's why now that the months have gone, there's the fighting can begin again at this time, and seize them and besiege them and lie in ambush for them at every place of ambush. But if they turn repentant from their ways and uphold the salah and give the zakah, then leave them their way, as assuredly God is indeed forgiving, merciful. If one of the associators is to ask you, of the mushrikeen, is to ask you, O Prophet, for neighborliness, then treat him with neighborliness until he hears the words of God, and then make sure to ensure his safety and security. That is because there are people who might not know. How can the associators ever have a treaty with God and with his messenger, excluding those with whom you already made a treaty in the vicinities of the inviolable mosque? As long as they are true to you, then you too are to be true to them, as assuredly God does indeed love the prudent. How can there ever be such an arrangement? Especially since if they had gained the upper hand over you, then they never would have looked out for any ties of kinship that concern you, nor respected any patronage. They merely please you with their mouths, whereas their hearts are in refusal, as the majority of them are lawless. They have traded the signs of God for a small price and have hindered people from his path. Terrible is what they happen to be doing. They would never look out for any ties of kinship nor patronage, especially if it pertains to a person of faith, and it is such who are truly the transgressors. But if they repent and uphold the salah and give the zakah, then they are your brethren in the religion. And thus do we outline the signs for people who might not know. If they, however, violate their oaths after having made their treaty and revile your religion, then fight the archetypes of the kuffar. So again, I do not understand why this is a difficult concept to grasp. If you read all those verses and put them together, you can clearly understand what was going on at the time. There was treaty that had been broken by the other group. But I won't touch on that so much. James, how much time do I have?
3 minutes and 54 seconds.
Wonderful. And then Moose kept bringing this verse in verse number 89, which also Brother Muji also talked about. And he tells you exactly, he is reading the part from the part where it says that, and that, let me look at it here because let's see here, it was in chapter 4, verse 89 that he kept bringing up. Let's see. Yeah. Yes. So he keeps starting from verse 89 where it says, they wish that you would act in denial just as they act in denial, or they wish that you would disbelieve just as they have disbelieved. Who's they? Why doesn't he say who they are? And then later on, it says that so that you can be, they wish that you can act in denial just as they act in denial, so that you could be on equal footing. Then it says, do not ye take allies. And I already explained this word to them, allies from among them until they emigrate in the path of God. Why do they need to emigrate? Where are they? So they cannot be in the place where the prophet is if they have to emigrate to where the prophet is. So they're at a different place. And if you read the verse that comes before that, you would understand who is they that is being talked about in that verse. But for some reason, you're skipping that part and just going straight to they. The verse begins at 88. Read from 88 and continue. This was a situation in which the people were divided concerning the hypocrites. These were people who were living with the Muslims in Medina, and then they decided to betray them and go to the other side. And now they joined the other side, and they made coalitions with the other side. They made awliya, allies. And now, once they have gone the other side, they are the enemy, because now they're fighting these people who are back in Medina. And the people who are back in Medina, they cannot make up their minds as to how to deal with these people. Some of them said, we should consider them, since they have gone to the other side, we should consider them as part of them. They're among, and some people said, no, they used to be part of us, so we cannot treat them the same way. So that's why the verse number 88 begins, what is the matter with you that you are divided in two camps concerning the hypocrites? Why are you in two camps? So the Quran here is giving you that understanding, but again, you did not mention that. And Brother Muji again told you that if you read a little bit further on, it tells you, excluding, of course, those that join themselves to a people between whom and you there is a covenant. So this is, again, certain people who have left the community and they have joined the enemy and they are now fighting. They are in conflict with those people who are in Medina now. But I don't understand why that is still up for contention. Then again, we already covered the part about child marriage. We already covered that clearly, but yet it's still brought up, and you're still asking, Is it good for mankind? We just told you that verse is not referring to children. It's not referring to children. The Quran has a specific word for children, girls, banat. Here it says nisa. Read the verse. It says that right at the beginning of the verse, but you're skipping it and only focusing in the middle of the verse. Why? You have to be honest read the whole verse and you would see that it's talking about, it uses a pronoun, they. Who is they? Read the whole verse and you would see who the they is. They is the Nisa who have not had their menstruation. It's not talking about girls, please. You have to be honest in this case. And we explained that it's still not good enough. Sorry. Yes, that was it. Thank you.
You got it. We'll kick it over to the final closing statement from Mus and Nosce, and then we'll have that Q&A. Thanks for your questions, folks. I'm excited to jump into them, but first, it's closing statement from Mus and Nosce.
Hey, James, I'm going to turn my camera back on if that's okay.
You got it.
Awesome. Should be good now.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so from what we looked at today, I think we've walked through more than 14,000 years, or excuse me, 1,400 years of Islamic history and its also modern legacy. We've examined all kinds of wars, laws, punishments, and verses not through rumor or bias, but through Islam's own text. Like we said, we're not here to redefine it. We're here to hold it accountable to its own sources. This pattern is not unmistakable. Wherever Islamic authority is held, where the Sharia is mandated, all of the freedom is gone. The conscience of freedom is crushed, and violence is what succeeds ultimately. There is no sanctified prosperity in an Islamic society. So to solve this, our opponents are thinking we need to reinterpret Islam to make it more peaceful instead of reject it. Okay, this is the worst way possible to correct the beliefs or the example Islam sets. Okay, if Muhammad set the example by fighting for the cause of Allah, starting the conquest, caravan raids, then a new prophet or a new messenger needs to come and set a better example. Or Allah himself should reveal a new revelation and give us a better example to follow, since Muhammad ultimately failed. So my opponents may tell you that true Islam can mean peace, but I mean, throw it out the window. Islam means submission, at least in linguistics, not peace. And that's exactly what Muslims are told to do. Be a good servant of Allah, submit to him, do every bit of his commands, submit to the prophets and obey their every word, like chapter 4, verse 64 through 35. So the Quran does not say, blessed are the peacemakers like Jesus does. Instead, it says, fight those who oppose Allah alone and his messenger fight those who oppress Allah and his messenger until religion is for Allah alone. You read that chapter 9, verse 29. Also, go ahead and read chapter 8, verse 39 as well. So this foundation of peace in Islam is non-existent. Non-existent at all. So I really wanted to read this when I closed it out because we had planned to read a little bit more than we already did. So when I wanted to close, I wanted to give a hard truth. Islam's influence brings harm, not healing, hate, not love, conflict, not peace, destruction, not prosperity. So in conclusion, we decided from our ethical evaluation, yeah, Islam is directly negative for society, at least in any principle you can compare it to of moral or ethical good. So we showed how his theology shaped history, like Banu Qurayza, Al-Qadisiyah. I also didn't get to mention the Almohads, the Jews and Christians that were forced to convert or die. And then, of course, we showed the Divis Army, the blood tax that seized children to serve an Islamic empire. We showed the Mamluks, that wiped out the Coptic Christians in Egypt, burned their churches, and prevented them to build new ones at that too. So these aren't just my misunderstanding of Muslims that also misunderstood what Allah actually revealed. This is the direct invocation of what the Muslims were inspired to do by the doctrine of Islam. So, in contrast, that with Christianity, Jesus said, love your enemies. He refused, Jesus absolutely refused to build his kingdom by force. But that's what Islam did. It spread by the sword, by the influence of Allah and his messenger. So, in contrast, the gospel spreads through persuasion, not punishment, through sacrifice, not slaughter. The Holy Spirit converts the heart. Islam conquers the body. It forces people either to die, get their heads chopped off, their hands chopped off if they're thieves, or be Muslims. If that's the solution, maybe our interlocutors should adhere to that. But instead, no, they think we need to reinterpret Islam. I think the better solution is what Nosce is about to show you. But just one more thing. After all the evidence, after all the verses, after the history, the verdict is absolutely clear. Islam cannot be peaceful, not because of a few extremists here and there, they're everywhere, but because its scripture make extremism normative. So a faith that sanctifies war and promotes it, justifies slavery, punishes disbelief, and subjugates half of the human race that cannot ever produce lasting peace. That's what Islam cannot do. So I would like to thank James again for hosting. It's been amazing to come on here. It's been a one-of-a-kind opportunity, and I do appreciate Muji and Rashid for accepting. At the end of the day, we love them as Christians. We don't hate them. We just wish nothing but the best for them. And we hope they will find salvation in the Lord and seek forgiveness and his gift of grace ultimately. Thank you. And go ahead, Nosce.
How much time we got?
Got 6 minutes exactly.
All right. So he brought up, he keeps bringing up Surah 9, chapter 4 and 5, like I really care about it. No, I don't really care about it. I brought up 3 different things: child marriage, the oppression of women, striking women. And he thinks that this is the only point that I'm sticking to. No, it's just baffling to me that you're not trying to advocate or try to fix the solution of child marriage and the oppression of women is Islam, but instead you're trying to focus on Surah chapter 9, 5, whether Allah broke a treaty or not. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, you've thrown the Hadith science out under the bus. You've thrown your scholars under the bus. You have admitted that you do not have the majority view of the Quran, the Hadith, and the Tafsirs. And that's where the problem is. If you cannot see it for what it is, I don't know what to tell you. The Sunnis take from the Quran, the Hadith, and the Tafsirs. This is where you get child marriage. If you say there is not child marriage in Islam, you're delusional. If you say that it's okay or not okay for a man to strike his woman in Islam, then you're being a blind eye to Surah 434. You're not taking it for what it really is. You're trying to sweep everything under the bus. I don't understand why. And since you acknowledge that you're the minority, you shouldn't even be debating Christians. You should be debating Muslims about their doctrines, why they see child marriage as okay, or why they see striking women as okay according to Surah 434. To me, your conscience is seared. I think we pretty much showed, and by your own admission, that you don't hold the majority view, that Islam is not good for society whatsoever, at least the mainstream. And if you deny what I just said then you're just contradicting what you said earlier. So I don't know what to tell you. But can you, I want to share my screen.
Yeah, ready for you.
Sending it. So the biggest thing is, yeah, we show that Islam is not good for society at all. The only thing that's good is the truth. And here's the truth, is that the God of Islam is false and the prophet of Islam is false. The prophet of Islam contradicts all the prophets in the Bible. So for everybody that's listening, God is eternal and he's infinite in value. His commandments, his word is infinite and eternal. When you sin against God, that is a rebellion. That is being a traitor towards God. Every time you sin, you are a traitor. You're betraying somebody that's eternal. If God is basing his standards on himself and he's eternal and he's infinite, then the punishment should be likewise eternal, infinite. God is a just God. He doesn't sweep things under the rug. He doesn't side with evilness. If you claim that your God is righteous, then that means he punishes 100% of the time that you sin. If he's a righteous God and he punishes 100% of the time, then he cannot show mercy. If he shows mercy, then he doesn't punish your sins 100% of the time. This is the contradiction you have with your God. How do we get around God not being a contradiction, showing both justice to sin, evildoing, and mercy? Well, no human, mere human, can be equal to God. But his son, his word that became flesh, who dwelt among us, was truly God and truly man, Jesus Christ, who was born of a virgin, walked a perfect life for 33 years, went to the cross. Why did he go to the cross? If my sister was in the middle of the road and I saw a car barreling down about to hit her, I would run, push my sister out of the way, sacrifice my life so she could live. God saw that there was no redemption for us and that judgment was coming. So what did he do? He took on flesh. He paid our sins on the cross because he's truly man, truly God. He's the only one that can forgive all sins through the sacrifice. So now that all the sin has been punished on his son, now he can give mercy and salvation to us. There's no more contradiction. Anybody that preaches anything outside of the gospel is a false religion. You need to understand that. Thank you for my opponents. James, thank you. People just realize that Christ is the only way to heaven. You must believe in him. If you have anything to add to it, go for it.
Yeah, how much time we got?
20 seconds left.
All right. Thank you. Love you guys. And, we let God's will be done here and his glory be shown. Nothing apart from that. We want none of this to be done for the sake of argument. And again, we wish nothing but the best for Muji, Rashid, and any other followers of this peaceful Islam, and even followers of Islam at all. So God bless them. God bless Muji and Rashid. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for that conclusion. We're going to jump into the Q&A, folks. So if you happen to submit a question, we do appreciate that. We're going to jump into them right now. But first, really quick housekeeping stuff. First, linked at the top of the live chat right now and in the description box, Monterey Debate has our 2-day debate conference. These are almost all religion debates because last time we said, hey, the religion debates day had way more people. That's what people want right now. So check this conference out as it's basically 2 days of almost nothing but religion and atheism debates. Folks, it's going to be a blast. You can use the code 25live to get 25% off your ticket. It's going to be an epic event. Come out and not only see your favorite debaters debate, but also get to meet them. Now, if you're like James, one last little housekeeping thing. Like, James, I'm sorry, I just can't make it. It's just not practical this time. Maybe another day. We got good news. If you become a channel member at the final word level, which is just $14.99 a month, you get to watch the entire conference. That's included with that membership. If you want, if you're like, hey, I'm frugal, James, don't worry about it. Join the membership, and the day after the conference, just cancel it. Like, I'm not offended by that. It's only $14.99. You get to see the entire conference live. So, from the comfort of your own home, while you're eating popcorn, ice cream, or both? Check it out. Channel memberships, you can click that join button. With that, the first question from an honest doubter says, for all, is God transcendent or beyond concept? Or maybe you'd answer differently on each of those questions. Is God transcendent and beyond concept?
Yes, he is. He's beyond human comprehension.
Anyone else?
I agree
got
with this too.
This one from, and jump in if you want to say anything. I don't want to move too fast. Eeyore, let me know if I'm pronouncing that right. It says, if Muhammad is in hell and if Isa is in heaven, which one shows the better path? Muslims.
I don't know what you mean.
I think they were just
Yeah,
obviously.
I can answer that question. So, if Muhammad's in hell, but Isa's in heaven, you need to understand that Isa is not Jesus. There's two different characters. In the Quran, Isa is from a virgin whose father is Imran, which is from the Levites. Jesus is from the tribe of Judah. You have a different Jesus. The Quran got it wrong. But however, to answer your question, why would God go through the trouble of making somebody be born of a virgin, being able to raise people from the dead, heal the blind, the sick, the lepers, open up the eyes and ears, walk on water, and then you think that this somebody comes behind you and is a better prophet, a better man than you? Why would God go through all that trouble? It's insane.
You got it. This one from Carl Slagan says, Islam, like Christianity, is just another man-crafted link in the mind-forged manacle that is religion. Carl Slagan has spoken. My guess is you guys would both disagree. Maybe if you guys want to comment, you can. Some of these are just kind of blanket topical statements.
Can you repeat that, please?
It said Islam, like Christianity, is just another man-crafted link in the mind-forged manacle that is religion. I think they're just saying that both religions are made up. That's what they're trying to say.
All right, can I say?
Yeah, that's not about our debate.
Yeah. I would like to say something. Yeah, James. As a converted Muslim, I don't see anything wrong with following those beautiful verses that I read, being just towards others, being peaceful, and doing good deeds, giving charities. Any religion. I love what Jesus say: love one another, love your neighbors as you love yourself. If even Buddha say something nice and it is good, it doesn't contradict the Quran as well, then I like that as well. So I don't see anything wrong with following beautiful teachings, loving other people, taking care of others, giving charities. Yeah.
Anybody else? This one from?
Yeah, so if it was between atheism and Islam, I would be an atheist, because I'm not going to be doing charity and all these good works, but be a blind eye to all these verses that support terrorism, child marriage, and oppressing women, striking women.
I don't know why you keep continuing and saying those things that we said. These are not Islamic. You keep continuing. All right. So unfortunately, you don't want to accept the truth.
I was just answering his question.
Yes.
I was just answering his question.
I know, but you keep continuing saying the same thing. Okay. But
please address him, not me. I was addressing him. You addressed the person who asked the question.
Yes, I said that you repeat again the same thing, that are not Islam. We do not believe in that.
We're going to jump into this next question. Thank you very much. From Yeshua is Lord, says, Muji is a good man, aka Perfect Dawah, is a good man. He hates extremism. God bless. Question though for Muji. You accept some hadiths. What objective way are you able to choose which Sahih teachings are true, quote unquote, Islam, and which are false?
All right, I have said it many times. When the Quran says no compulsion religion and a hadith says kill apostate, I say that goes against the Quran, so that's why it is false. just because Bukhari said or scholars say, there are a bunch of businessmen, and I do not follow businessmen. That businessmen are in all religions, in Christianity, Judaism, and other religions as well. So that's why I follow anything that goes in line with the Quran. So, and I said, whoever says that, if my math teacher says 2 + 2 is 4, and it makes sense and it is true, then I accept that. But if he's a Christian and tell me Jesus is Son of God, no, I do not accept that because it goes against the Quran. So I hope that I answered that correctly.
You got it. This one from, do appreciate it. Dark Ginger 33, he says, Takia, a concept that allows Muslims to lie, deceive, and hide their beliefs if it helps to spread Islam or its agenda. I think they're saying, is this a real thing to our Muslim guests?
No, it's not a real thing. This concept of taqiyya is actually more prevalent among. It has been used by some Shiites within Shiism. There is traces of it there. However, in the Sunnis, this concept is as foreign to it's too foreign to them. Like if you went to a Sunni walking down the street and you say, hey, do you know taqiyya? No, he will tell you he doesn't know what this is, because this concept is not, it's just something that is popular. People have popularized it and levied it against Islam, and these Christians have picked it up and they're just spreading it around as if it's a thing. It's not a thing. It's not there in the Quran. That's why these guys were not able to produce a single verse from the Quran supporting it. If it was there in the Quran, they would produce a verse that is able to support it, but they were not able to do so.
So, yeah, I would like to comment on that question too.
You go first.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go first.
Yeah. So, I mean, chapter 328 gives us, this example, takat, let non-believers take disbelievers as allies rather than believers, except when you take precaution, takat, from them. And if you go to any classical tafsir, like Ibn Kathir, al-Tabari, al-Qurtubi, they explain this, right here I'm reading. It is permitted for a believer to show loyalty outwardly while concealing it inwardly if he fears harm. So this is deceit. That's what promotes taqiyya. Okay. And also, if you look at jurists of Islam, then yes, like Imam al-Nawawi, he says, if a Muslim fears harm, he may utter words of disbelief, though his heart is firm in faith. Also, Ibn Kathir, he says taqiyya is permissible for fear of harm. Al-Qurtubi says it is permissible to speak contrary to one's belief in order to protect oneself. I have more, but that's just a bunch you get for now. Go ahead, Nosce.
All right, I would answer that because
you've already answered though.
Yeah, no, we didn't answer. It is if I have some Jews.
This is not an argument.
No,
this
wait.
is Q&A. This is not an argument.
No, because
I'll give you a really quick, pithy response, Muji. But
yes,
then,
please.
because the question was originally, let me just remember if.
Yeah, he answered it first, and now he's trying to do a second.
No, you don't allow it. No. Brother Rashid said, "Bring your."
I'm gonna let Muji have a response, just because it is technically, the question is originally for him. If it was originally for you guys, I would let you guys have the last word. But
That's
Muji,
fair.
I do need you to be really pithy. Like I need you to be snappy now.
Yeah. Okay, the Quran says that if your life is in danger, then you can deny your belief, okay? But you have to keep it in your heart, you have to believe in it. So that's if, for example, I have some Jews in my home and I'm living in Germany, and SS comes and asks, do you have any Jews in your home? I have to lie to them.
Cut you off here.
Yes, I have to lie to them, say, no, I don't have. Because otherwise I will be responsible. Yeah,
we're going to jump to the next one. This one from Dark Ginger 30.
No, I thought I was able to respond to this one.
The trick is, the question, when it's addressed toward one party, I try to let them have the last word.
That's fine. No problem.
This one from Dark Ginger 33. We got that one. Yeshua is Lord says lies. The Tafsir Ibn Kathir specifically says too young. I don't know the context of that though. That's all they said.
That's true.
Yeah. So in the Tafsir of Ibn Kathir and Ibn Abbas, It literally says that they asked the messenger or the prophet, what about the or it said, what about the ones who have not menstruated because they are too young? That's the way exactly how it's put.
Okay, to that I would say, why didn't they say person who asked the prophet not look in the Quran if it was there? If this thing was there in the Quran, as you said, why did he go to the messenger and ask him? Why didn't he just go to the Quran and see this thing that you were saying?
Bro, why would anybody in the first place be asking about a young girl that
No,
who
you're not
hasn't
understanding.
menstruated?
You're not understanding my question. You're not understanding my question. Don't do that, please. You said since you hold that hadith that it's true, this man goes to the messenger and asks if they are too young, what about them and they have not menstruated? So my question was, why would he go to the messenger? Because I'm trying to get you to understand that the Quran and the hadith, or these so-called interpretations, they don't align. That's what I'm trying to understand.
So the answer to that is there are people who are actual pedophiles in the world, and if they had a government they can go to and say, is it legal for me to have a child? And they say, yes,
You didn't
it's
answer.
okay. That's exactly what they were doing with Muhammad.
You're not
Is it okay if
answering.
we have children?
You're not answering. It's a simple
I've
question.
answered the question.
No,
You didn't
he
answer
said,
it.
he said that if it was in the Quran, why they should go to the Prophet
Yeah,
Muhammad? Because it
it's
is
very
not in the
simple.
Quran.
I'm
As
trying to
simple as
show
that.
you that there's a disparity between the interpretation that you're reading and what the Quran says. It makes no sense that this man, Ibn Abbas or whoever he was, would go to the messenger and ask him about pubescent girls who are too young to menstruate. If that was already revealed in the Quran, he would just look in the Quran and just take that. Why ask the
And
messenger?
explain why child marriage is in Islam. Explain that.
Good God, you it's impossible. It's impossible
Yeah,
to.
we said
Gotta
100
jump.
Yikes.
We
You gotta
said it
jump.
100 times. Yeah, we said it
No, but
100 times.
just
Kai Burr says, how can Islam be good to society when it never stopped and actually continues on with the practice of old men having relations with young boys? Baka Bazi, in parentheses, they say.
could you repeat that?
They say, how can Islam be good to society when it never stopped and actually continues on with the practice of old men having sexual relations with young boys? Parentheses, Baka Bazi.
I mean, there are some things that they do in certain areas that are very remote, I think. But again, that has nothing to do with the Quranic message at all. It's there's nothing in the Quran which suggests having sex with young boys. I mean, that's just.
We'll go to the next one. This one from Striving Muslim. Thanks for your question. Said, question 2, Mus, can you provide us the verse in the Quran that permits a Christian concept of taqiyya taught in Romans?
Christian concept of taqiyya? I don't think I understand the whole question.
Yeah, well, let me read it one more time just in case. They say, question to Mus, because I don't know the context either. They say, can you provide us the verse in the Quran that permits a Christian concept of taqiyya taught in Romans? So I think they're saying like this idea of if there's this Christian concept of being able to in Romans say Paul says like, hey, you can call up.
I understand what they're asking. Let me look it up. So he's looking at where Paul says, here, I'll read it. 1 second.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of that verse. I can't remember it off.
So it's Romans 3:7 that he's trying to bring up.
Yeah.
And let me read it. I'm sorry.
Let me get my Bible.
I didn't have my Bible open since it was a Muslim debate. Let me open it and I'll read it and answer it.
In the meantime,
Romans
folks,
3:7.
All right, here we go. Romans chapter 3. Is that in the Old Testament or New Testament? For if the truth of God has increased through my life to his glory, why am I also still judged as a sinner? And why not say, let us do evil that good may come, as we are slanderously reported, and as some affirm that we say their condemnation is just. Paul is saying that you shouldn't spread Christianity even through a lie. That's why Jesus rebuked the demon that claimed that he was the Son of God, because he doesn't need anything demonic to affirm who he is. He only allows truth to do that. So there's your answer.
You got it. This one from Do Appreciate Your Question. Big League Drew says, is the Kaaba, parentheses black cube, actually Saturn worship?
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, Kaaba is, as I said in my opening, that is a place that we turn towards and say to God, show me the right way, right path. And I said in my opening that we live in a jungle world, that the strongest one get the most and weakest one get little or nothing. So God wants us to live equal, and Kaaba is the what happening there in Hajj is a symbol of equality. So that's the way God wants us to go to and get out of this jungle world that people do every bad deeds to gain wealth and power. And I have to say something that Moss said, that why I don't debate extremist Muslim. I've asked many times. I've asked James to arrange a debate. Haven't I asked James to arrange a debate between me and Daniel? I call him ISIS Jew, and unfortunately, yes, you were not interested. So I have been debating these people, and I have even traveled from Sweden to London to debate them. So I'm fighting them. So don't think that I'm just debating.
I don't think I said that, but okay.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
This one from Big League Drew says, chaotic spirituality is greater than organized religion. You know, some of these are just statements. I don't know if you guys want to respond, you can, but you're just like,
Good
obviously,
luck.
I disagree.
Yeah, good luck.
Spirituality.
Yeshua as Lord says, Yahweh's revelation is iterative. He permitted certain things in the Old Testament because humanity was not ready. His final commandment was to live. Allah revelation came 700 years later and contradicted this.
Is that a statement for us? I mean, that's really not. I mean, that doesn't show anything. Just because the prophet comes after a certain revelation, that would imply that just because a prophet came later, that means that that prophet is wrong or that prophet is
Yeah.
not true. Just because he came after Jesus or just because he came before Jesus or something like that, that doesn't mean that that prophet is wrong. It doesn't show anything like that. You have to look at it from you can use the Bible to judge a prophet. The Bible already gives you the tools for how to judge a false prophet from a true prophet. And when you judge the prophet through the Quran, not basing it on the Hadith literature, when you judge what he did or his message, you will find that it is 100% in alignment with what God truly revealed to the old prophets.
So to answer that, yeah, it does say exactly how to call out false prophets, because Moses wrote down what God said. He says in Numbers chapter 12:6, then he said, hear now my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, Yahweh, will make myself known to him in a vision. I speak to him in a dream. He didn't say that he was going to send some angel. He didn't say that he's going to send the FedEx man or what is it, the Uber. He wasn't going to send anybody. He said he would do it himself. I make myself known to him in a vision. I speak to him in a dream. Every prophet that has became a prophet or come to the realization that they've been chosen for a prophet, God himself revealed them in a vision and a dream, where Muhammad didn't have to do that. He had Warka tell him he was a prophet, not God. Show me where God showed him he was a prophet.
You mean in the Bible or the Quran? Wait, sorry. Go ahead, James. Sorry.
This one from Big League Drew says, is God, parentheses Old Testament, actually evil, and the snake in the Garden of Eden actually good? A Promethean figure, if you will. What are your guys' thoughts?
It wouldn't be relevant to the topic, but
That's fine.
you
I'll
have a
answer.
comment?
So, no, God is not an evil God. God is a God of love. True love is one of free choices. If God made our choices for us, there wouldn't be love at all. So, when we choose to rebel against his standards, that's evil. That's not his fault. So there's people around the world that's starving and homeless and all this stuff. We have in the United States, our defense budget is like $700 billion. If all the countries in the world put their defense budgets together, there wouldn't be anybody that's poor or hungry or starving. It's man, but God gave us that free will. We will be judged.
You got it. This one coming in from, do appreciate it. This one, they say striving Muslims at for Mus. Quran 488 through 89 talks about hypocrites. Why did you lie about it? Wow. If you want to pull that up, I'll give you a chance, Mus. That's in the Quran, uh, Surah 488 through 89.
Yeah. So I quoted this earlier. Yeah, the legal, at least jurist, would say this is in context of capital punishment for apostasy. So there's no lying about this. So whoever changes his religion is the cross reference Ibn Kathir uses. Whoever changes his religion, kill him. I mean, yeah, read verses 90 through 91, striving Muslim. But if they withdraw from you and do not fight you and offer you peace, then Allah has not granted you a way against them. This qualifies the command. Lethal force only applies only to those engaged in hostile aggression, not peaceful dissenters. So when we read this, yes, the command is against those who are participating in active treason during combat, not just mere disbelief. So this is a command for apostates to be executed without a doubt. So there's no lying about it.
You got it. This one from, do appreciate it. Strikes again. Big League Drew says, the lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. Thank you for that. And this one, what are you doing over there, Big League Drew? You just waking up? Are you on something? Our league says way more people run away from Muslim countries than to them.
All right, can
Muslim
I say
countries.
something?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And I said it many times, and I say it again. Yeah, when Western countries, they support dictators in those countries and create conflicts because they want to sell their weapons and buy cheap oil. Yes, of course, people like me have to run away these dictators that you put in place. And it's not just Muslim countries, it's Latin America, entire Latin America. Many people want to run away those countries, and they are so-called Christians as well. And many African countries who are majority Christian countries, and people also want to run away because there are countries who want to exploit these countries and they support dictators. So please don't mix religion with politics, okay? And I said this is a jungle war that people want to gain wealth with any means. Yeah, thank you.
You got it. This one actually, I think that's all of our questions. I do want to give a quick plug. Housekeeping wise, folks, as you can see at the bottom right of your screen, Modern Day Debate is getting on college campuses. If you're part of a college campus and you're like, hey, we'd love to host a big debate on our campus, maybe inspiring philosophy or David Wood, whoever it might be, Daniel Hukikachu, is if you reach out to me at moderndaydebate@gmail.com, we'll help make it happen. Modern Day Debate has done a lot of in-person debates. We know the process well, and we're like, hey, let's make it happen on your college campus. As you can see at the bottom right of your screen, if you want to start a Modern Day Debate chapter, you can. But maybe you're like, hey, well, actually, we already have a Ratio Christi or a TPUSA, whatever it is. Cool, that'll work too. But email me at moderndaydebate@gmail.com. I want to say a huge thank you to our guests. It has been a tremendous debate. We're just glad that you guys have been here with us today. Nosce, Muji, and Rashid, thank you for hanging out with us today. It was a great debate.
Can I say something
Yes, sir.
fast?
Thank you for the opportunity.
I mean, sincerely, thank you, Muji. And,
thank you.
And thank you, James.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to say I continue on my channel. If anybody want to join and talk to me, or else every Saturday, 6 p.m. UK time, I go live on my Perfect Dawah channel. So please join and continue talk. I go live right now. Thank you.
You got it.
Yeah, thank you, James, for this opportunity as well. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no,
God
say,
bless
do
you.
you want to host a after party at all?
I don't know. Yeah, we'll do it somewhere.
But I'm live now. You can join if you would like.
You got it. Well, our guests are linked in the description box, so you can check out their links to see if they are hosting a show or not. But I want to say thanks again to our guests. They're the lifeblood of the channel. We're glad to have them here. And then I will be back in a moment, folks, to let you know about upcoming events, including DebateCon 6.
Yeah. I'm not dying. Get out of here. We're dancing in the street. There's nothing left to eat. We're on a winning streak.
Amazing. My dear friends, DebateCon 6, it's coming up fast. Oh, that's right. Let me open the Zoom window and you can see me again. If you click the channel memberships link, you can either click the word join, it's near the subscribe button, or the pinned chat right now, it's pinned at the top of the live chat, is you can become a member. If you become a member at the final word level, you will get to watch all of DebateCon 6 from the comfort of your own home for $14.99. Usually, if you guys are familiar with like a pay-per-view, we were originally thinking like this is like something that like we should like people would probably be, happy to pay like, $39 or something, $25. We were like, hey, let's make it as affordable as possible for our members. We do appreciate you guys being members. We're going to read off the members in just a minute. And do want to say thank you guys for all of your support.
There are a million ways you support this channel, and I can't thank you enough. Hitting like even, that is a nice way. We do appreciate your support. Also, hitting subscribe. Also, your super chats. Thank you for becoming a member. Agrilapolis, thanks for being a member. Appreciate that. And we're going to read out our members list. So right now, these are our members at the debater level or the final word level. And this has been growing rapidly. So we're excited about that. Thank you guys for your support. And hey, if you're at the debater level and you're like, hey, I'm thinking about DebateCon, I can't make it personally, but you can actually just upgrade to the final word level. And voila, you get to see DebateCon 6. These are our members at the debater level or the final word. So I'm just going to sort this out. Toadman, Alcatraz, Trigger Gaming, MC Natty, Desert Shadow, Josh Gardner, Agrilapolis, Jeff C, Kokomo, CCS Element, Bigly Drew, thank you for being a final word member. Madi 3, thank you so much. Matt League, Evan Lundstrom, Hot Tuna, T, Yaksh Fine. Am I saying that right? Let me know. Gino Biscotti, thank you so much. Mortem, Jordan Walsh, I Killed Earl, Sheery, thank you for being a member. Ty Shira Eubanks, and these are again at the debater or the final word level. There are different perks. Check out the memberships and just look at the perks. We do have a lot. We basically consolidated our memberships where we were like, hey, we got like 6 different membership levels. This is just confusing. Let's just have 3. Keep it simple. Samuel Lindstrom, thank you so much, as well as Nick Mercer, Fady Ibrahim, NetTube User, Basil Problem, Jen Ranch Girl, Nate P, Mr. Samuel Tawhid, Walk with the Spirit, Ryan, Kat Johnson, Marilyn, Tony's Tech and Custom PCs, Pito Rosario, and Joshua Latino. Thank you so much for all of your support. And I've got to tell you, folks, we're excited about the future. A lot of big stuff coming up here at Modern Day Debate. So, again, you can watch all of DebateCon 6 from home. I'm telling you, you guys, it'd be crazy not to. We appreciate your membership support. We're excited about the future. Big stuff coming up. Let me check here. You do have plans, November 15th and 16th. They're called DebateCon. Whether you make it out to Nashville or not, we'd love to get to meet you. Come out to DebateCon, meet us in person. And then what I'm going to do is Any last things? I think that's it for our housekeeping. But want to say thank you guys for being here. Thanks for all your support. I will be here actually in let's see, it's 2 p.m. now. So in about 4 hours, I'll be back as we'll be hosting another debate. This is going to be a juicy one tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. So that's me. I'll be here again. But thanks for all your support. Love you guys. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable, and we'll see you there tonight.